I'm ready, dude. Oh, are we starting earlier? I thought I said 5 minutes left.
Season 2 will be our biggest update to Diablo 4 since launch. With a new quest line, events to play as you drive back the vampiric horde, unholy vampiric powers to wield, and new endgame encounters to test your skills.
And players will need to harness the enemy's own blood magic against them to end this new evil before it's too late. In Diablo 4, the Season of Blood.
In Season 2, the people of Sanctuary have a new danger to face: invasion by an army of vampires. This shadowy vampire cult has laid claim to large areas of the world and have begun abducting innocent citizens to use in their dark rituals.
Everyone's lives are at risk, including your own.
In Season 2, players are going to uncover a plot led by a new ancient vampire named Lord Zir, who's awoken recently.
Lord Zir is a remnant of a lost age. Before there were humans in Sanctuary, it was inhabited by the firstborn children of Inarius and Lilith, who are known as the Ancients.
But because of Inarius' actions, the Ancients had their powers drawn away from them. But some among them were not strictly subject to a true death.
Zir and his cohort were banished to sleep for an eternity in the city of the Ancients, but due to the events of Diablo 4, the city began to awake, with dire consequences for the humans living on the surface above.
During the events of Season 2, the player is going to contract a vampiric curse, but they're not under Lord Zir's control, which gives them a unique opportunity to strike back against the cult and stop Lord Zir's plans.
We'll encounter a variety of new characters this season, including a band of vampire hunters, one with a particularly shadowy past.
Seek out Zir's army. Kill as many as you can.
Eris is a professional vampire hunter. She's crossed and recrossed the wilds of Sanctuary, putting an end to the undead since long before the events of Diablo 4.
I need to go off to the magistrate and you're gonna have to come along.
Eris is played by actor Gemma Chan. It's exciting to see more film and television actors lending their talents to the video game world. Gemma brings a wealth of experience to the table from a wide variety of roles. She was a great choice to breathe life into this character of a world-weary but determined vampire hunter with a lot of emotional complexity.
That's a bite mark. You're changing, aren't you? No, from the depth of that wound, you should have already. She is strong. She's compassionate towards others, but she's also witnessed a lot of horror in her life, so she's pretty emotionally guarded and stubborn and fixed in her worldview. Oh, you're going to change. I'm sorry, but whatever's preventing your cravings won't last forever. It never does.
She realizes that the player character has these vampire traits, which makes him a useful tool, but potentially disposable one.
This is madness. Perhaps that's what it takes.
One of the core seasonal mechanics for this season are vampiric powers. Vampiric powers can be acquired by defeating Bloodseekers and minions of Lord Zir in order to acquire potent blood, which allows you to unlock or upgrade vampiric powers.
When you collect all of these various powers, they have costs, which are going to be detailed as part of the pack system. So armor pieces that you collect during the course of the season are going to have these packs associated with them.
There are 3 types of packs, and you can use the boons they provide in order to fuel the blood seals for various vampiric powers. You can combine the power of different blood seals in the Sanguine Circle, so long as you have the appropriate combination of packs in order to power them.
One thing we've really tried hard
What?
to do is to provide powers
The fuck did that even
enhance
just
every
say?
build, so that there's no one right way to play when pursuing that vampire fantasy.
There's one in particular that I like where as the player dashes, they turn to a cloud of bats, and they'll curse creatures they pass through along the way. As you kill those creatures, you're going to actually steal their souls. When you use certain abilities on your character, all of those souls are unleashed, dealing devastating damage to nearby creatures.
There's also an ability called Rising Moon, where you can stack basic skills, and after you reach a maximum number of stacks, you go into a vampiric blood rage. If you can't get enough of bats, there's even a vampire power that allows you to summon a bat companion. They'll take a bite out of your enemies and have a chance to stun them.
That seems lame as
Zir's
fuck.
army is pushing across Sanctuary in an event called the Blood Harvest, which will always be active somewhere on the map, but will change locations in a cyclical way.
Blood harvests are large-scale open-world events where vampires have overwhelmed an area in the hopes
So
of
a hell
isolating the
tide?
populace, harvesting their blood, and siring more vampires.
Players will venture into these areas to rescue prisoners, stop sinister rituals, and hunt for high-value enemies. Of course, they'll be rewarded for their efforts with a variety of new items, as well
This is
as
just hell tides.
blood that fuels their vampiric powers.
In Season 2, the Season of Blood,
It's literally just hell
adding
tides.
5 new
Bro, what?
recurring endgame bosses for players to engage with once they get into
It's like worse hell tides.
and 4. Players will be able to earn the materials to summon these bosses by completing Whispers, and by completing Helltide events.
We have some new enemies with powerful elemental attacks, giving players more reason to seek out and equip gear that enhances their resistances.
What?
What sets
Why?
these new in-game bosses apart is that they offer a new way to farm uniques. So if there's a build-defining unique you're after, you'll be able to target farm specific bosses.
And our most challenging boss that we're
Cringe.
adding as part of Season 2 is also going to have an opportunity to drop extremely rare unique items that players have been hunting for.
Cringe, bro. Just make them better to
We're also
drop.
going to be adding some quality of life updates in Season 2. The first of which is we're going to be taking our gem system and making it so when gems drop for the player, you're actually collecting materials. They're going to be stored differently. They're not going to go into your inventory the same way to help alleviate some of the concerns about inventory
thank
space
you.
that players have talked about before.
As long as you finish the prologue, you can now choose to skip the rest of the campaign and dive straight into creating a seasonal character. If you previously unlocked a mount in Diablo 4, it will be immediately available to use when you begin your journey through the Season of Blood. And we
Okay,
made it so
obvious
that the now
things.
rewards persist through seasons, so that the reward is now account bound.
As we do with every new season, we'll be adding a new season
Okay.
journey and a new battle pass filled with new.
Oh yeah, battle pass. I
and
said my favorite word.
cosmetics.
Holy shit.
And we'll also be
Now
adding
my
some
dick's
new
out.
Town portal cosmetics, both in the free and paid versions of our battle pass in Season 2. We'll also be making a number of other changes to the game, updating unique powers and items, reviewing legendary aspects for different classes. We're going to be updating stats like our resistance values across the game, and a number of other balance tweaks to make sure the game is as fun as possible for players.
One of the most exciting things for me about working on Seasons is that
Okay.
Sanctuary is a big place and there's a lot going on. The primevals and the angelic forces are still very much in play, but I think players are going to enjoy seeing some more human scale dramas
No,
play out.
nobody gives a
Diablo
fuck.
4's second season will be our largest content update yet, but we're only getting started.
Nobody gives a fuck about the story of this vampire lady, vampire hunter.
We'll continue to improve upon established systems by listening to player feedback to make your adventure in Sanctuary the best it can be.
We're incredibly excited for you to explore more corners of Sanctuary, so come join us in the hunt.
Hey guys, how's
Whatever.
it going?
That season
Welcome
theme
to
looks
another
fucking lame.
Developer update live stream for Diablo 4. My name is Adam Fletcher. I'm the
That
community
looks
director
so fucking
here
lame.
for Diablo. I'm joined by our wonderful panel here. Some familiar faces, one new face. Feel free to introduce yourselves, you guys.
Thanks. I'm Joe Shelley, game director for Diablo 4. I'm Antonio Watson, associate dungeon designer for Diablo 4.
And I'm Joe Pipora. I'm the associate game director for Diablo 4's live service.
And I know you guys actually just saw an early look at Season 2, Season of Blood, with that video before the actual live stream kicked off. I do want to start off, before we kick off into this conversation,
Yeah.
there is going to be an emergency alert if you live in the US at 11:20 on every single mobile device. So you may actually see us look at our phones or our watches, or you might hear it at home if you live in the US. So if you do hear a weird noise or something, we've tried throwing everyone's phones out the room, but it still might happen. So it's a good time check though, which it lets me know that it's 11:20, which is really funny. But we do have a lot to
Pacific.
What was that?
11:20 Pacific time.
Yes, Pacific time, 11:20 Pacific. Sorry, we live in California, and so that is the time that we kind of base it. So based off your time zone, that is in 17 minutes, everyone. But I did want to give that heads up to everyone that if you hear a weird noise, or if you hear a weird noise at home, that's what it is. It's a test. If you live in the US, that is. But we do have a lot to talk about here. We do want to talk about Season 2, of course, with Season of Blood. And go through all the gameplay mechanics, a little bit about the
So
story.
this stream is
some
Blood,
of
the Season of Blood and quality of
new
life.
elements that are coming within this season.
Okay.
Since we're now coming really close to Season of Blood, which is coming out on October
These
17th.
four segments
And
are
of
going
course,
to take 2 hours.
Season of the Malignant will also be ending on October 17th, so it'll be a season transition for players between both seasons. And then we have a bunch of gameplay updates and quality of life updates to actually go through a ton. Like this, we expect this actual developer update live stream to go for about 2 hours because we do need to go through a ton of items with everyone. And then we have some news and announcements to make regarding Diablo 4 towards the end. And of course, we have our Q&A, which we'll be taking questions from Twitch chat. And then I know we actually have some questions from the forums because we had started a forum thread earlier this week or late last
That's
week,
cool.
regarding
Feedback from that.
developer update live stream. So I do know that we do want to kick it off with
Oh, Persnickity's alive.
a little bit about Season 2.
Yeah.
So Want to jump
Debatable.
Let's dive in.
Debatable.
So, I know that we just watched the video together where we talked about
That
the
video was
season
so
one,
lukewarm.
But in
That
season
preview
two,
of the
players
season.
are going to be confronting a new villain who's begun to
I'm
surface
worried.
throughout Sanctuary. A character named Lord Zier, this ancient vampire who's awoken recently.
I don't know.
And begun to like.
The season
gather all
theme
of these
seems
vampire
lame.
Cultists and other followers to his banner. in
Seems
effort
very
to, like,
undercooked.
Overtake Sanctuary and achieve his own aims across the world. Now, while the player is
It seems
progressing
very
the season, we're
similar
gonna
to
meet a new character,
Malignant.
named Eris,
It's just
who I think
Helltide
you're
Malignants.
gonna meet Eris during the course of the season.
Where it's
Eris
like
is a vampire hunter.
not
who's
enough
been
of a
trying
season
to,
theme
thwart
to
Lord Zier for the past,
Yeah.
last more than a
few
week.
weeks and months. Trying to hunt them down and try to eliminate.
It's just
them entirely.
Helltide's Plus, but that's not actually
She's not
content.
having great luck sort of investigating the cult. She needs more help. The player is going to kind of enter the picture, but as part of the story, as the player is progressing through the season, mild spoiler here, but the player is going to contract vampirism. Now, but due to the strange nature of the interaction with...
We're gonna contract vampirism for 3
player
months and then
character,
lose it
they're
forever.
going to be able to resist some of the effects of Lord Zier's influence, and instead gain all of those same powers without those detriments that are holding back other creatures, which can be really, really cool. But Eris is going to be fairly nervous about this, as she's only ever seen anyone who ends up actually contracting vampirism this way end up following and serving Lord
She's
Zier,
just
and
she's
regardless of
spinning.
their intentions,
Borp
Yeah.
a spin.
Well, we dig more into a little bit
like we
later
coulda
on
had
enemies
some-
and such. But this represents this interesting new character that you're able to be able to like work with as you're kind of following the quest line of the season. So as you're going through these things, you'll be kind of going across all of the world. And I know, Antonio, we talked about how, or rather we had talked before about how there are a number of dungeons we added with the season.
Like,
and,
our
you kinda-
quest
you
line
kinda
is
give us some of
good.
those part of the quest line.
There just needs to
Yeah,
be
so we
more.
have new dungeons that
We're not gonna be
are
doing this
part of
quest
the
line
quest
for
line.
like a month. Like it's
New
gonna be
dungeons. Okay.
a couple
secrets.
days.
There's a really cool dungeon at the end when you are going to confront Zier for the final battle. And in addition to that, throughout the story, you will be revisiting some old places that are
going
a
to
bit
old
different
places,
now
cringe.
that Zier's minions have come and
I mean,
taken them.
hopefully the
Yeah.
dungeons
So I've seen,
are
I
like
think we've seen
actually
some of the,
good
some of the dungeon
dungeons.
stuff here.
Yep.
So the new dungeons in the quest line are pretty cool, particularly that finale that you called out, like when you're going to sort of get a chance to, once you've tracked down Lord Zier with Eris and you get a chance to really confront him in his lair. Those are some pretty epic moments that we don't want to actually show on stream just
no
now.
spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers for all that stuff just yet. But definitely a lot of things.
Oh yeah, walking into a dungeon and not encountering mobs for
Players will meet
fucking
other characters
20
as
seconds.
well
That's my
throughout the
favorite.
season. There
Also,
are
they're
other
level 7.
Allies they
Yeah.
kind of are going to meet. They're going to learn more about Lord Zier's plans overall, what his real intentions are for Sanctuary as all of this is going on. So that's kind of like the high level of what's happening in the world. Basically, Lord Zier and his army of vampiric cultists are trying to take everything over, and that manifests in a bunch of different ways throughout the season. But I think the first thing I really want to talk about, or the next thing I want to talk about, are the mechanics, like what you're going to be doing.
Maybe this
during
will
the
be
season
good.
to kind of gain power and such. So we talk about the fantasy of
The
season.
fantasy's
The player is
okay.
Basically becoming part vampire during the course of the season of blood. And part of that comes down to making sure that we have cool vampiric powers for players to collect and use. So what we see here is our vampiric power user interface. It's the way players are going to be able to kind of collect a lot of power.
Chance to fear enemies and slow them. So
and
that's a
slot
malignant
them
right there.
into the circular UI.
So, I
above.
mean,
So,
It's literally
Yeah.
malignant.
throughout the season, players are going to be able to acquire.
It does say level
up to
1 though,
22
so maybe we'll get to
vampiric
level it
powers
up.
as they
That
So-
could be good.
and these are designed such that they are, unlike in season 1, where with Malignant Hearts, we had a lot of very class-specific hearts baked in. We tried to make sure that the vampiric powers that players collect in season 2 are all class agnostic in nature, so that there's just more combinations and things for players to select from and play with as they're thinking about their build.
Okay,
And, yeah, so
overpower,
we have a few
vampiric
of these,
curse,
showing up right here.
doors.
They come in a few different varieties in terms of
Okay.
the power of them, and each of them have a pact cost. Well, I'll be able to talk about a little bit more in just a moment. But you see these pact costs listed at the bottom.
Unstoppable.
Players need to acquire a certain armor pieces that have
Okay.
these packs associated with them in order to fuel these.
Now, what do I
We'll
actually
talk about
need
it
these
a
for,
little
though?
bit. Let me
Like,
actually see if we take a
why
look
do I
at
want
maybe
these
the
powers?
themselves real fast. Yeah, so here's one. So players can have a vampiric power they get as they're progressing through the season, where they're going.
Wait,
they're evading
did that just show Necro with a
bats,
dash?
and it also makes them unstoppable.
That's
for
their
these
evade
attacks
dash
at the
or
same
space
time.
bar.
And
Wow.
it's a way for the player to deliver a new effect that you can get throughout the season, which is called Vampiric Curse. So when you see that that red effect above the a lot of the creatures that the player is fighting, they're under the effects.
That didn't look like their evade dash.
And if you kill them while that effect is,
It's because he has the thing where he turns into
you
bats.
steal their souls and
Yeah, but it looks like it's way longer
just
than their
showed
evade
the-
dash. Yeah, I know.
They just showed the power.
So it actually gives them a new dash, though.
Character, you unleash all of
I mean,
these
it's still
souls,
their
as you can
spacebar.
see here, these missiles, like these
Necro's
missiles
default
fly out
spacebar is
of
bad,
different
so
creatures,
that's an
as you're
upgrade.
playing through.
That's
So
actually a
that
movement
is
skill.
going through packs and dungeons or elsewhere. to
That's a
get
movement
these
skill,
quickly
as
slow
opposed
down
to
groups or elites that you might have
a
to deal with.
clunky
And you're gonna have
slide.
to use one of your powers
Other
on it,
cool
but
things
yeah, I
you
mean,
get, like there's abilities for based on other companion skill uses and other things where you can like have like we have this like where the bats will come down and attack your enemies.
I don't get this bats coming
And then
down thing.
many other powers. We talked about like there was an overpower power we showed before. There's another one here that is more focused on channeling skills. Which, yeah, here it is. So when you start using channeling skills, people will drop this pool of blood around you, which gives you some extra protection. And also
Why?
against all the
No,
damage that you do
you're never
while
going to
nearby.
use Incinerate,
So this is
bro.
going to be able to fire when you're using like any kind of channeling skill and enhance those channeling skills. It just gives you a bit more.
what if you can stack those though, and you just have 4 wizards stacked on top of each other?
Or just have one
Channeling.
barb hitting whirlwind.
Extra damage rather from a
Yeah.
channeling build for a class.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's cool about the vampiric that I like about the vampiric curse is
Just another
a few
aspect
different
of
ways-
gear
there are a
that
few
we need
things
to
that
worry
can
about.
trigger it and a few different ways to key
Because
off.
It's
your
more-
gear
A
has
lot of
your
these,
symbols
vampiric
on it.
powers have interactions with
Yeah.
that curse. It kind of forms a unified
Another
thread.
upgrade system for the gear.
Really
I
cool,
mean, I'm
like,
fine with
extra
that.
ability for players to
Well, it's
play
not an
and be
upgrade
able to
system.
trigger
It looks like
different
gear
ways.
drops
Very
with
fun, we think.
like 2
So the
skulls
next thing I
or
want to
2
talk
No,
about
he had-
chalices.
actually how
He
to
had the
use
circle
your
things that
vampiric
you loot,
powers,
he said.
those packs I talked about before.
That was in the
So
preview.
if you look here in the inventory screen, you'll see that that all of the armor pieces that players are
Yeah.
collecting are going to have a set number of packs associated with them. So you see here on the items themselves, like they all have these small symbols off on the left-hand side. Yeah, or underneath them, or rather. And these represent the various packs that players can collect of the 3 different types to fuel all the vampiric powers they can collect. Because ultimately, you want to gather all your vampiric powers, you want to level them all up to level 3 to make them as strong as you can get them.
Only go to
and
level
then
3?
You want to make sure that
We
you
only
can
go to
fuel
level
all of those
3?
vampiric powers so you can have all 5 slotted that you really care about. And to do that, you need to make sure that you get the right kinds of armor pieces available. The packs are only going to appear in armor. They don't appear on jewelry or on weapons, just on armor pieces. But, and I should say, every armor piece that drops during the course of the Season of Blood will always have packs associated with them as well. So you're not looking for items that are going to have. It's not rare in that way. And as the
Also,
players
it's
progress
just-
through the season, they're going to also gain these new items. They're able to
Kind
collect
of-
from completing various content types. We'll talk a little bit
These
more
are in
about
our
those.
consumable tab.
But these allow players to basically remove packs from items. They allow them to eject new packs into items up to the pack limit, which is based upon the tier of content the player is playing in. So normal items have 3, and then sacred have 4, and then on to 5 as you go into ancestral.
5,
So
okay.
as you're
Okay.
progressing through, you can get more of these
Guess
packs.
you can
have a
still
lot
change
more
them, so that's
control
okay.
over your ultimate pack loadout on your items as you collect more and more of these consumables that you can use to kind of modify and update
mean,
your items. So we're really excited about this.
That's
Great ways to get these. are
Chromatic
through
Orb
completing
for the season event.
other,
I'll take it. We
I
didn't have that
mentioned
last time.
in the video. We'll talk
Yeah.
more about in a minute.
It doesn't
But,
seem
killing
super
blood
deep
seekers is a way to get
though.
these in a really
Also,
good way.
like,
So there's lots
I just
of
needed a
ways
chrome
that
orb.
is.
That's all I needed. They gave it, so that's okay.
yeah,
So that is that's kind of like the very high level.
It does
we'll
seem-
talk more about the
Very high
about,
level.
Like,
What
other
do you
things you'll be
mean?
doing to gain those vampire powers. We get to some of the other sections of when we're talking about season 2.
Seems like the
There's also a lot
surface.
of new,
It should be like the beginning of season
as part
2.
of season 2 as well.
So as part of season 2, we actually added a bunch of new monsters. Lord Zier has a ton of different minions that will be all throughout the continent.
Holy butt cheeks.
First, we have here our shadow vampires. These guys are not your typical flavor of vampires. They
so-
have a bunch of really cool new attacks.
They
You'll
look
see
cool.
them all over the overworld.
Yeah,
You see them
I
in a
mean,
variety of dungeons.
don't they look like the other
Paired
mobs
with
though?
these
Just
guys,
with
we
the
also have our blood
shadowy
skeletons.
effect.
These guys are kind of similar to our regular
What
skeletons.
the fuck?
but
That
they
dude
also
got
come with
long.
new
That's
attacks
that's,
that
that's
allow you
me,
to
dude.
have
That's stick.
new counterplay
Yeah,
and
a bat.
techniques in order to defeat them and get around them. So be prepared for that.
Yeah, they have like a little more area denial baked into their
Right,
kits, right?
right.
As you're fighting some of the blood skeletons.
Yeah, you definitely want to watch where you step, like when you're engaging with these
Oh,
guys.
more ground
Vampires
effect.
have like these cool things where they occasionally drop these like giant like heart-like lumps on the ground, and sometimes they'll be able to trigger shields off of these things.
He's got the
Kinda
Diablo
change
3
your
logo on
armor
his back with the
going
3
through a
slashes,
space
dude.
Where you have to fight shadow vampires frequently to make sure that you're
At
not putting
chest.
things out to prevent those shields from being
Diablo
applied.
3.
So yeah, there's some cool things to react to as part of this. But of course, that's not even the only creature, right? Because there's the man himself, right?
Yeah. So we also have Lord Zir. Here he is on his
Edgy
throne.
boy.
Yes. He is the mastermind. You will be facing off of with him throughout the season and during the end of the season. He is our big bad evil guy, and coming along with him are his lieutenants, the Bloodseekers.
Oh yeah, the Bloodseekers. So Bloodseekers
Rogue
are really
Exiles?
Cool. So Bloodseekers are a new idea in season 2, and the concept here is that like as the player has been is sort of protected a little bit by Lilith's blood in this way, that they're not able to be controlled by Lord Zir after they contract vampirism under his in his forces. There are other heroes who've gone out there that don't have that same level of protection. Who've gone out there trying to stop Lord Zir, trying to stop the vampiric advances. And they have fallen victim to the blood cults,
Zug Zug.
to Lord Zir's forces.
Rogue Exiles.
And for those characters, now you've got vampiric sorceresses, you've got vampiric barbarians, you've got these bloodseekers out there looking to kill you, the player. So as you're progressing through, you'll be dealing with enemy rogues, you'll be dealing with enemy druids and necromancers.
This is a buff to
and
PvP.
dealing with their specific like spells and kits that we've created for the season for players to interact with. And honestly, finding Bloodseekers is great because these guys are just blood bags. You know, they have a really, really good chance to drop potent blood. And potent blood is going to be a currency that you're going to be collecting through the season. They'll be able to use to basically upgrade powers that you already have, your vampiric powers, and unlock new ones that are available through the vampiric power UI. So really, whenever you find Bloodseekers, you want to take them out because they are, first, they're pretty fun to fight, they're a little challenging, but they also have the ability to give you big
Do they
upgrades
spawn
for
everywhere?
vampiric powers. And they can jump you too, right? So like we make sure like Bloodseekers are you'll find them in the world, particularly like in Blood Harvest. We'll talk about that again. I keep saying we'll talk about things in a minute, but you know there are lots of chances to get them to fight them in Blood Harvest. But you can also find them in dungeons and stuff too, right?
Yeah, so you can see them in the overworld, but they will also invade you in dungeons. So don't let them catch you slipping.
They just come out of nowhere and just fucking try to RKO my ass.
Finding you when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So
They're just rogue exiles.
Dungeon, you have
That's
a
fine.
barbarian jump on you, whirlwind, you know, all trying to
I
slow you
don't
down,
like
right?
the idea of
Problem.
just one dude appearing.
Very, very fun.
Like a pack of
So,
monsters,
yeah,
please.
A lot of new enemy types.
Yeah.
The new season. So then, I guess next thing is, finally it's time to talk about Blood Harvest.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned before that Lord Zir is
Yeah,
taking
Helltide
over,
Plus.
and Blood Harvest is really the way that we're representing that. You know, starting right at level 1, you'll find that Lord Zir's minions have taken over broad.
It's say
swaths
approximately
of
a
the
third of a
Five Towns
Helltide in
Sanctuary.
size.
And it's going to be filled
Fucking
with
alarm.
like his minions out there trying to like drain the blood from a variety of different people. There's that
There's that emergency
There's
alert.
that emergency alert we talked about.
There we go.
All right.
Now
Okay.
everyone gets to experience this together.
And my phone as well.
So while these events are active, or rather these activities
I
are
can
active,
feel the
you'll
5G
find
activating
armies
inside my
marching across
neurons.
Sanctuary,
Yeah.
taking people hostage, taking them prisoner, draining them of blood.
Like,
and
they're trying to
causing
describe this in like a
havoc
grand way, but it's just Helltides, bro. Like, you're literally just doing the same objective as
There's
Helltides.
lots of things to do as you're kind of going through this.
There's nothing more than a Helltide, bro. It's a Helltide. Just call it what it is.
Helltide.
Sure, there's
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a great question, Antonio. So obviously there's some
similarities.
to the way that things
Yeah.
are working in Helltide. The difference here is that first of all, it's available right away at level 1. You know, as you progress.
Okay, so we're
But
Helltides.
also, while these events are active, there's always a blood harvest active across Sanctuary at any given time. Like when a blood harvest ends in one location somewhere in Sanctuary, a new one's going to pop up as Lord Zir's.
Okay, so it is just a
And
Helltide.
one
Yeah,
of the
it's
things
just
about
fine. Helltides
Blood
are-
Harvest, it's a little bit.
I mean, they're the only successful open world system,
is that,
but that doesn't mean that we
as you're
needed
kind of
another
going
one.
through and playing, you're going to be
Yeah,
earning a
like
couple of
open
new
world
materials,
systems aren't-
that you don't get elsewhere.
What-
And that
what
is
we
you'll be
want-
able to earn bloodlures,
Yeah.
which bloodlures that you'll be able to use to basically like bait bloodseekers to come to you to be able to.
Yeah,
fight
there's no
back
way
to
this
them as
lasts
time
more than
goes
a
on.
week.
And you're also going to be earning
This is like
vampire keys you can use.
do
to open,
once, never
like,
want to interact with again,
prisoners,
open world
like
type
cuffs,
shit.
to be
Like,
able to open vampiric caches and other things out in the overworld. And one of the cool things about this is that
Why is he
these
just
materials
hacking
that
these
you're collecting,
balls?
these currencies that you need to
Yeah.
kind of like do some of these activities, these don't disappear at the end of a blood harvest. So as you collect them,
Wow,
they
that
stay
auto
with you
attacking
for that
gameplay, my
much longer.
favorite.
So it's not limited progress in that way. Yeah, here's an example of a player going
Okay, what
using
we got
blood
here?
prayers to summon a few of the blood seekers in combat. So
But you're only gonna do this
folding
until you, like
accordingly.
their
But the,
upgrade stuff that you get for
so that's
this.
a couple
You're gonna be
differences.
finished
And the
with
other is there's actually another new feature they're adding in season 2, where
very
which
quickly.
we're calling right here. It's called Hunter's Acclaim.
What?
And
Okay,
as you
what
do
is this?
things in the Blood Harvest area, as you're killing blood seekers, as you are freeing prisoners, as you're completing
Reason
new
to be in the Blood Tide
Harvest-themed
zone. Okay,
whispers that are
let's
also
see.
active in those areas, you're going to be earning Hunter's Acclaim that will allow you to basically go and earn a number of other rewards. Some of the vampiric powers that you want to unlock for your character are available through the system. A few of them, and then there's lots of like potent blood you can get from the system, and then also gear as well as you're progressing through. So there's a bunch of different stuff in here for players to do. It's we're really excited to see how they level up in this experience.
And the blood harvest occurs.
Just
in
another, just a way to help
once you
gearing
progress
along
up
the
into
way.
higher world tiers, you'll still be seeing Helltides.
That's absolutely right. You'll still see Helltides as well, but you'll also see higher level blood harvest.
They just walk through the barrier with their horse.
Awesome. So we got a lot of information here about season 2, but season 2 also has some other components to it that actually are beyond even just like seasonal stuff. Like, and I know people may have seen in the video the discussion that we quickly brought up like before the stream actually started, which was about the new bosses that are being added in.
Please give us a reason to actually fight them multiple times.
The boss system is going to be
Yeah,
for
or
players.
how you target farm uniques.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Oh.
you're right that first and foremost, this is content we're adding to the Eternal Realm as well as the Seasonal Realm from this point forward. Yes. We're continuing to add more activities like this as time goes on. But there's actually, I think I have a handy dandy chart, a very designery chart to show to help players understand kind of what we're talking about here. So what you see here is the way that we kind of look at the content progression of Diablo 4, the way the players are playing through the experience, the sorts of activities they engage with as they play at various stages.
Like in season 1, right?
Yeah, in pre-season and season 1. Yeah. So yeah, you can think of it in that way. Yeah, our 1 to 50 experience, obviously you're leveling up initially, maybe you're going through the campaign for the first time, you're progressing through, eventually you get out of World Tiers 1, 2, and get into World Tier 3 after you finish the capstone. Here you get to do, you have higher level whispers to do, you get exposed to Nightmare Dungeons for the first time, you get exposed to Helltide for the first time, World bosses get a little bit tougher, Legion events get a little bit tougher, and we're making some changes there as well. And then eventually you get into World Tier 4, now you're getting your ancestral items, and you continue to move on through Nightmare Dungeons, and you continue on through
Yeah, I thought. They think Echo of Lilith is the, I mean.
Potentially, if that's one of you.
Man, they're 71 to 100. Do they not realize how empty that chart looks?
What we had in place.
Do they not realize how empty that shit is?
They had to copy paste the world boss again, even though no one does this shit.
Yeah. Helltide, right? And we've heard a lot of feedback from players, and also from our experiences playing the game, that players are looking for more milestones, they're looking for more goals, they're looking for more like things to.
Players are looking for more milestones.
So there's some big changes we're making as part of the Season of Blood.
Hey, the chart got
here. So
I don't even. Okay.
The player gets into World Tier 3,
Echo of Rashad. Okay.
For them, or one returning boss for them to go and engage with. The first is Echo of Varshan, our good boy Varshan that everybody loves, is going to be back in season 2 for players to be able to hunt down in order to kill.
Grigor, the Galvantic Saint.
Later.
Also, specifically to get uniques that only drop from Varshan. So every one of the bosses
uniques
as part of the Season of Blood is going to have their own distinct loot list associated with them, with unique items, and there are some cosmetic rewards as well that we'll be able to talk about in a little bit.
Duriel is a boss again?
So that's a reason why you're going to want to go hunt each.
Why is Echo of Lilith not a thing to move towards anymore? I'm so
I kind of like connect the dots in terms of where these things come from. So if you want to go hunt
Beast in the Ice.
you need to go complete
The Beast in the Ice is in Nightmare Dungeons?
Find,
What?
Like malignant creatures as you're completing whispers in the overworld. They have a rare chance to occur.
So malignant
Also,
things are staying around.
New malignant body parts you need from completing Whisper bounty turn-ins. So when you go and you get your cash reward at the end of a Whisper run, there's a chance for you to have one of the pieces that you.
So you can only from Varshan by doing whispers.
Blood, there are new layers
yeah,
that add around,
that's
around
fine.
the world. And the layer for Varshan is in a kind of a corrupted hollow.
Be nice if
Boss target farming is a waste of fucking time.
So right there's an entrance down.
It would be nice if we could trade those
No
Things.
mulligan hearts dropping, you know, but mulligan creature is certainly down there. And at the end of that small dungeon, you're able to go and basically throw these materials into this new brazier that we've added to be able to summon Varshan back from the dead to fight him for the special loot that he has. Now, one of the new creatures that we're adding is this the Galvanic Saint, which we'll show off some of the new art for some of these characters in just a moment.
So Hell Ties get you towards the
Galvanic
Saint Burial?
Very
Okay.
themed boss that players will be able to go and engage with as they complete Helltide content. They will learn Infernal Steel from opening various caches and use this as a way, as part of a new layer, to go and summon the Galvanic Saint and deal with his lightning.
Man, boss farming is not end game, bro. I don't. That's not the end game that I want to experience.
Yeah, they definitely seem like they want to have the ending point of being a boss rather than the ending point being
farming
of dungeon.
They are very elementally themed in terms of their attacks. So you should be looking for like lightning resist explicitly if you're trying to farm.
Oh, they want us to gear specific resist for
fuck
that, bro.
Cold resist to find from the Beast of Ice later. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. So okay, so that's World Tier 3. This is a way for you to get some of those build-defining uniques you might need to kind of progress to the Sacred Tier, give you those extra rewards as you go. So now we're talking about World Tier 4 for a second. So you've got into World Tier 4. Echo Varshan is now still available for you to fight in World Tier 4, where he drops ancestral versions of those same unique items. And the Galvanic Saint is also available for players to fight to get ancestral versions of those unique items. So those are still there. Additionally, when you kill Varshan and when you kill the Galvanic Saint in World Tier 4, they drop summoning components that you need in order to summon Duriel, King of Maggots, you know, who is a new level 100 boss that we're adding as part of the seasonal experience, who has a chance to drop unique items as well as a low chance to drop uber unique items.
Okay. He's how you farm the uber
What
uniques.
does that mean, like, in terms when you say uber uniques, a lot of people go like, oh, low chance. There's already a low chance. So what does that mean for a player for uber uniques now with this new system?
That's a great question. You will absolutely know people that have uber uniques after this goes live, and there's a way for you to farm them specifically from going after Duriel, right? It is
so cringe, bro. It's like
Duriel.
actually the most cringe.
Item. They are still very rare relative to other items.
I don't want to fight a boss.
It's not like it was in the past. Like you're gonna see people.
It's not.
That have uber uniques.
That's not in-game ARPG content. Fighting a fucking boss.
Right.
It's not, dude.
So that's
like
a really, really big push as part of the new seasonal program. Now there are two other bosses that I didn't talk about too much. The first is the Beast in Ice. So the Beast in Ice is a new boss that you can go and summon after you start completing Nightmare Dungeons higher than Tier 30. So Tier 31 plus Nightmare Dungeons, you know, 85-ish monsters and so on from there. As you fight and complete these Nightmare Dungeons, there's chances for the components that you need to drop at the end of the Nightmare Dungeon you'll be able to use to make a new special Nightmare Dungeon key that explicitly brings you to the Beast in Ice's lair. So that is the way you're able to summon forth the Beast in Ice and fight them in combat to get their special.
Look at my Shaper fragment so I can open up
items as well.
Beast of Ice.
I mean, that's a good method of doing it.
I mean, yeah, but all the content is just a boss.
Better, yeah.
It doesn't. I don't even care about the rewards. I don't want the end game of everything to be a boss.
Yeah, the end point being the boss.
Once you're ready for that content, and you're able to access and
so cringe, man. Give like I want a reason to keep farming the end game content.
A lot of monsters
and not a single target fight.
Yeah, I know, it really am. As you kill world bosses in World Tier 4, and as you complete Legion events in World Tier 4, you're able to gather these materials forward and bring them.
The problem with bosses is they're only interesting content one time.
Things to kind of call out here.
Once.
Actually, why don't we show? I think we have video.
People do like to farm bosses over and over again.
But for most people, they are for most people like me, they are one-time fight where they're interesting.
Summoning in for the first time. Very excited for players to go and do that fight. Beast in Ice in his new lair.
He's just they're all just reskins, bro.
Real maggots.
They're all just the same boss from before, as a different color, man.
Still have the here. We just don't want to show.
That's the boss fight might be cool.
That's the demon guy, Blue. That from all the other Nightmare Dungeons.
Later.
Yeah, but if they have different attacks, it could be okay.
It's fine. It's fun one time.
These bosses. There's a couple advantages. First, if you've got friends, you can try to farm these components up together. and use that as a way.
Maybe
to
they're going to mention that
Oh.
we can sell them.
Fights and get more chances and opportunities to get some loot off these bosses.
Friends, you want? I'm
Okay.
imagining when they say farm them together, though, they mean that you're gonna want to be in 4 separate nightmare
So if you've
dungeons.
got half the things you might need to summon
Farming
the
for
charm,
completion
you don't
from
have
each.
The other half, you can go on trade chat and try to find the other remaining.
Trade chat,
components.
okay.
You know, spend the gold necessary to like maybe exchange for those things.
Okay, so you
then
can
go
trade for
and
them.
summon the boss that you need.
That's
And also,
good.
as you
Or
get these materials
actually,
utilized, you may have
that no, the
farm
way
materials that you need
the
to
way
summon.
he's
But the
And
problem
you've got items
is
you're looking for early
I don't know,
that the
the way
end
he's
rewards
describing
from
it.
the
Take those and
bosses, you're
sell
not
those
going to be
off.
able to
You have to
trade.
make a tidy profit for yourself.
The
So
problem
time and
that I
trade
think
as you
he's
go.
I think he just gave up though is that it doesn't
friend,
he
for
didn't
sure.
say you could trade the item.
You
I think you're gonna have to bring the player into your
have
world,
Oh.
into your lair to
Have
That's
open it with you.
strange.
on them that
Yeah.
you can target.
That's right. So if you're looking for a particular unique item in the game, and we've added a lot of unique items in season 2 as well.
There's
that
more
also
unique.
involve
Dude, that doesn't help the problem.
You know, you will be able to you will know the sorts of boss you're looking for in order to farm for those items. Right. So if you're looking for something, there is a boss that is going to drop it. You know what you need to go target farm and try to get those items.
I don't want to farm a
Yeah,
boss.
we're
I
saying
don't
just
want
like
to.
some of the,
I don't want to be told I need to go kill a boss if I want my build to function. I want to farm items in the world. I want not in the world. I want to kill monsters in a dungeon.
tables. But then, like Joe,
Wanna
and
kill
Joe
lots of dudes.
have mentioned,
Yeah.
you can find unique items off of them, and Uber Duriel has the opportunity.
I mean, they're just they are just going all in. Like Nightmare Dungeons are not in-game content. The in-game content is 5 bosses.
That,
And that is
may find
absolute
yourself,
agony.
an actual, like,
That's
actual
not an
doing
in-game.
This,
That is a campaign. Congratulations, they have finished the campaign.
Eternal Realm, and this is
Yeah.
every season.
Like this is just the campaign. Like you just finally finished
And
the
I know a lot of
campaign.
people have been asking about like unique
That's not
items and,
that's not
hey,
in-game
there's
content.
gonna be, like, any
This
future changes for unique
all
items.
this is
I just
done
wanna
while
know,
leveling to
because
100.
we had been talking about the stream on October 10th.
What are we
where
gonna be
that
doing
stream where
in
we just have a lot to
a
talk
week?
about today, so we're actually splitting
Farming
streams.
one of
But,
5
on
bosses over
October
and
10th,
over
we're
again?
talking
Yeah,
more
like that.
about,
It's not
class
like this is.
balance
They just
changes. We're
finally.
also
This is
talking
good
about,
content. It's
unique
campaign content.
updates. In
Yeah,
fact,
this
But
is
it's
good.
but it's
But it's
not
not
in-game.
enough.
Is getting some sort of update in Diablo 4, and we're actually going to be talking more about that on
So
the 10th.
cringe.
So these unique items are obviously going to be, you know, big things to actually kind of hunt for players when they are fighting these specific bosses. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about today. We'll have more to talk about on the 10th, and of course we're also going to be talking about resistances more on the 10th with Adam Jackson, and
Hopefully
some
on
of
the 10th.
So we don't find anything about resistance and stuff until the 10th?
crit, vulnerable, and
That's all on the
power
10th?
damage that's
Damn.
also getting kind of adjusted.
So the 10th is probably gonna be more
Kind
deep,
of what we
more
mentioned in
Yeah,
prior
more
nitty-gritty.
numbery
that
math.
will all be happening on the
I think they
10th.
need both of those. I think
But,
both of these streams need to be
yeah,
that,
hear a
but
little
sure.
bit about the bosses here. Now we do want to talk about some of the gameplay updates and some changes that are coming to Diablo 4, which is a huge list that we actually do have. So it's going to take us
Is this list gonna have any
be
details, or is
prepared.
it just
We
gonna
got
be
a lot of
vague
slides and a lot
with
to
more
A lot of
details?
discuss
slides.
here, but
I love slides.
we do want to kind of jump right into them so we can kind of get through all of them for sure. And a lot of this, and I do want to like.
I'm
preface
consumed if a
lot of
hardcore
this is
player
based
disconnects
off
while in
of,
combat. Tell me to say
things we've heard
okay.
from community feedback.
That seems like
and
that
also
should have been
some
how that
changes
worked from the
we
start.
most definitely wanted to make
Yeah.
to the game to make a better experience for players.
I mean,
especially as
now
we-
you can just now the meme of unhook your router is viable.
Joe, do you want to kick us off?
I mean, Alt F4 will save you now.
We can see. I'm going to talk about
Like logout macro is a thing now.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
mention,
that's
We're
fine.
seeing some of the images of some of the mount and some of those item art.
Oh, yeah.
Those are also new cosmetics that are exclusive to that you can get from farming.
That's
farming
correct. Yes, these are
overbosses.
exclusively dropped from
Yeah.
the various bosses that we're talking
In-game,
about.
yeah.
adding
Okay,
into
that horse,
on Eternal Lands.
both those horses are just reskins
And
with
these will-
a different color.
When we say eternal and seasonal, we mean that these are going to persist.
Yes.
Persist beyond season 2.
I don't
That's
care
correct.
about
Yeah, these
cosmetics,
bosses aren't gonna
so
go
The
away
weapons
again.
don't even
Wanna
look
add
that good.
more-
That crown
more
looks
things
okay.
Players should do once they get into these World Tier 3
Win.
content
That's
tiers.
staff. Is that a
Weapons are
staff?
kinda cool.
Staff's okay.
Talk about some of those things today.
I thought the
Yeah, there's a lot
Mason
more
book looked
plans. This is sort
okay.
of like the first step in like
thought it was
creating
a
more interesting
wand.
activities for players
Maybe it's
as
a-
they get into World Tier 4, especially as they're thinking about level 100, especially.
Mace.
I'm sure there's more fun things for players to do and engage in.
More for an endgame.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Scrolls of Escape. It's been a little while coming, but Scrolls of Escape will now be consumed automatically if you disconnect while you're in combat. Because this is a consumable item, we feel pretty good about the case where people are, disconnecting on purpose, you're still going to consume that item. So we feel pretty good about this change, and it always sucks to die to a disconnect in hardcore. Yeah.
Never fun.
Incenses, which are the party-wide version of elixirs, of course.
Okay.
Will now grant a bonus to experience, and they will.
Why was that not just a thing by default? Sure, it's better. It's a good change. Multiplicative.
Incenses are like
Okay,
all
thank
of those elixirs.
you. Holy shit, thank you.
Go over here.
This makes sense.
Different references to different
That's good.
changes. One of the things, and if you're playing Season 1, you'll notice that we did make some adjustments to experience in Season 1 as
Elixirs
well.
and incenses are both a
That's
little
sort
fiddly
all
still,
this is sort
but
of coming together with some changes to how
hopefully it
how
can
experience is calculated in terms of which things are multiplicative.
keep getting
So
improved.
the way this will work is, in general, you've got different kinds of experience.
This is a good
bonuses. So
change.
you've got maybe a bonus from incenses that we just added, for example. You've got other experience bonuses, maybe from seasonal blessings. These are
Yes,
gonna,
thank you. They're so
add
dumb that
together
those
in a
were all
bucket and
yeah.
then be multiplicative.
It's so dumb that they were added for the World Tier bonus. It was so dumb.
Experience bonuses will be much more impactful in Season 2 than they were in Season 1.
All this is doing though is
now it
giving us.
really
All
means-
this is doing though is reverting the XP nerf from pre-season 1. Let's not forget. We still can't forget that.
And cumulative,
All this is doing is just putting us
your time
back to the XP we were getting in
compared to
the
Season
launch
1,
of the game.
your time to get to level 100.
It also means that you
is
have
gonna
to
be
have
40%.
your elixirs and shit on now, or you're gonna be
Yeah.
way behind in
Season 1,
XP.
yeah, in Season 2. This is
40%
Like I
fast.
wasn't even popping mine, and it didn't.
Yeah.
well, we found that Season 2 is really about. We just talked about all of the.
Yeah. All this is doing is just undoing
content
the nerf that they did
leveling up.
pre-season 1 for
We
some
also want
reason.
players to be able to get to level 100. It's a goal that many players set for themselves, and it should be an achievable goal. And so
That's
in
a good
Season
thought.
1,
Thank you. I mean,
we
but
saw
like,
that, there were
I'll
some
take
players who
that.
were getting frustrated. You maybe get to level 75, and you're like, I want there to be more things to do, and this is like just feels like it kind of slows down. And we really wanted to smooth that over and make the process of reaching that goal and getting to the end of the season journey feel like an achievable goal.
See, like, that's not all though. It's like level 75 should be where the game's starting to feel like it's the beginning.
You're going to be having a lot more cool stuff to do with all of
Not where you need to just give somebody a reason just to finish it.
Good changes. Very excited about this.
So, as I said, we'll talk more about other
Analog
changes
waypoints added to
experience as
skip
we go through
campaign.
this, but
Okay.
moving on for the moment.
And that's cool. That's a good quality of life.
Skip
That
the
I can't
campaign,
complain about that.
To jump into the
Why can't we
world,
just have all of the
as many
waypoints
players
though?
do at the start of a season, you're going to have more waypoints.
I mean,
that
didn't they
start
say
on
Renown was going to be unlocked
compared to
permanently? So like,
Yeah,
That
but
means you don't have to do quite as much.
Shouldn't we have them
running
unlocked?
to unlock waypoints as you're going? This isn't every single waypoint.
I think
but
I think just our
strategic
renown
waypoints
rewards are unlocked.
that
We
are
still have to go
related
get
places
the
you wanna go
things.
and are centrally located.
I guess that
Make it
makes
a little bit
sense because
easier
it's not
to
like the
balance,
codex would be
whispers
fully
and
unlocked.
rotation As you're
Yeah.
leveling up your character initially. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are some other changes. There's kind of a suite of changes. I was just talking about a number of changes to experience. There's also a suite of changes to sort of town efficiency. And this is
give
the
us
first one We're going
hideouts.
to talk about some more.
Town efficiency. Now
Town
rewards now
efficiency.
persist between seasons and
I
new
know this is one
characters.
that's
Okay,
close
thank
to
you.
Joe's heart in particular. Renown rewards will now persist between seasons. So what this means is that when you create a new character in a season, you can still earn renown. You can still do side quests if that's something that you enjoy doing. You can go and do strongholds.
strongholds
You can
are
do
good
all of
content.
Those content types, but all of the rewards
They just
that
don't
are
last very
associated
long.
with renown will persist. So
Okay.
if you have
Yeah,
you
so
don't
the
have
world will be
to,
unlocked, but if you want to go get
you're not gonna
something,
have to
you
log
can
in
still
on a
go do
different
it.
character or anything. Like any reward that you've claimed, if you claimed it in preseason, on Eternal, in Season 1, on any character, you're gonna have that reward automatically when you create your new character in Season 2.
How
And
again?
this
How did it
applies
take you
to
2 seasons to come to
brawlers,
this conclusion when
mobiles,
people were screaming
it
about
applies
this
to,
betas
skateboarders,
in betas,
all this
whatever?
stuff, yeah.
It's just nice to be able
At
to
least
start
it's finally a thing now.
character and not feel like you have to go do every single side quest over again
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
all of the stuff.
Yeah, and this is something it's a really good point, Antonio, because when we are talking about these general improvements, what these came from is a lot of, like us, the dev team playing the game, and I think Joe mentioned this before, but it's really important, playing the game and then reading feedback from players, feedback on social, feedback from videos, everything, and,
That's us,
and
more
really
feedback
looking
from
at like, what are
videos.
players asking for? Where are there places where we can make the game more fun? Because we talked back in season 1, like our goal is to continue making.
To me, it's hopeless that they got to that point and needed, they need
sort of their results.
They couldn't have just seen it coming, but whatever.
I'm making sure that players have more choices when they are able to log into their seasonal character right away and not feel like they've got this this oppressive goal of needing to completely fill out their renown in order to play optimally for the season.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be really, really healthy and good for the experience.
Imagine that. People said they didn't want to do renown, and it only took you 6 months to realize that, oh, they didn't want to do renown. They were actually telling the truth.
After you claim these rewards in a previous character, you're just going to have them on the future characters.
Like, what the fuck?
And,
It's a good change.
Yeah. It's just like they're like, I don't know, like ego padding right now.
No, it's all right. Let's go to the next bullet. Overworld monsters, yes. So this relates to another change. We're going to talk about it a little bit. But overworld monsters will now match your player level in World Tiers 3 and 4.
They're just going back to doing this?
XP.
They're just undoing what they did.
This way.
Why did they?
That's good. That's what you want. You want them to undo things.
Yeah.
Just with the game not feeling like you were getting upgrades that really felt powerful.
Thank you.
And players rightly called that out. Like, look, I want to.
Yeah, this is because they've gone. This is because they've gone back and fixed the other thing.
That's a really cool
that was the
part
problem
of the loop.
with gear.
So,
so like.
change,
It's the right direction,
monsters on par with your level.
That's all we can ask for.
This is based on reviewing season 1, but it's coupled with some other changes that make sure that that it does feel meaningful and powerful, and you're not just feeling like, oh, I'm just sort of playing catch up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on.
All right.
And of course, at the end of season 1, your season 1 character is going to migrate to the Eternal Realm, and so we've added 2 additional character slots to make sure that you have plenty of space.
Oh no, increased load times. Have to load the other people's 2 extra characters.
Are migrating from season 1 to Eternal Realm. We actually have all that information that's going to be posted immediately after.
I haven't run into the character slot issues, so
essentially talking about everything related to season 2. And so all the details about how that actually happens, how that works, will be in that blog. It works very similar to like if you play Diablo 2 Resurrected, you'll know exactly how that works, and it's very similar to that. But all that information will be on the blog afterwards.
Yeah, we'll go into detail about what happens with your items and how they carry over.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of great info there.
My malignants.
Okay, so next I think we have towns. Yeah, towns and vendors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Voltus has set up shop by the Tree of Whispers.
And that's like really a focus of ours as we kind of move forward. First up, the occultist is now set up by the Tree of Whispers. So when you go back and your whispers, there are additional functions you can perform right there without having to like fly off to give a shot or anywhere else.
That's not
you could do other work.
the only thing we needed.
Hold, let cook.
We've gone through. We've added stashes.
All small points with waypoints.
This is the first of those changes.
Okay, I don't really know if that's not really good because you always port back to a main town.
When you press T, it always.
More opportunities to drop things off and pick things
I've been
up,
added to
actually
capital
up there,
cities near important
plan
vendors.
while you were leveling up
Oh,
character.
okay. Couldn't we have just moved the vendors?
Yeah, can we like clump them all together?
Things nearby. More opportunities to get to a stash.
I mean, it sounds like that the Tree of Whispers area might just be the town, but you have to like teleport there manually.
Yeah, you have to teleport there manually. Nothing takes you there.
We'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've added more stashes all over the place.
Shop closer.
And then of course,
Rare curiosities. Oh, I mean, like, sure, that's an
They show us the
improvement.
map.
You know, really tucked themselves away in a distant corner of a lot of the capital
Yeah,
cities.
imagine all of your vendors are tucked away, not just this guy.
We're bringing them closer to the waypoints. We're reacclimating them to society.
Okay.
Them to the world, and just making sure that they're a lot easier to reach.
Okay, map.
See here,
There's another, like, why are we just putting stashes everywhere? Just move the vendors closer.
Well, yeah. Why are we not just?
Okay, that is a good spot for Purveyor, though. That makes sense for him. But, like, can I get the other guys closer together?
Yeah, become more willing.
Okay, that stash in the middle of town right there, that stash in the middle of town, that Purveyor is still, they literally moved him like 5 feet, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the laws are.
This is a good town, though. This is much better.
I mean, this is how it looked already. There's just a stash in the middle now.
Yeah, and that's good.
I mean, the vendors are still a walk everywhere.
Yeah, but that's.
It's better. Yeah, they could. It would have been hard. It could have been hard to make it worse.
It's a good point.
Going between different areas.
Like, that's like a 1% improvement to the town to towns.
It's like a 10% improvement.
Thanks to the
The purveyor curiosities doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters there is that they put a stash in a useful spot.
I think that's
Yeah.
about towns and vendors. There's plenty more stuff to talk about.
Yes.
Want to talk about mounts?
Yes. We should
Mount
talk
go
about
through
mounts.
the
This is
barrier.
something that we talked
We
about
saw it
before.
in the
This is something
preview.
that Mr. Joe Shelley had posted on the platform known as X, formerly known as
Did he make
Twitter.
a post on
He made
X?
a post, not a tweet.
Not
did.
tweet.
He
That's
made
a
a
different thing.
post.
Yeah.
And
He
we've had a
zeded.
lot of people ask about this ever since that post.
I'd never
We mentioned
say that
it
again.
would be, something that
What the fuck?
you want to go through all our
I'd love
changes
to.
come from mounts?
Yeah, let's take a look at them. The first off, there are a number of changes to mounts, but I want to call out that the one that players and we feel is the most
Mounts,
significant
what I enjoy-
here is it's just that they're going to get stuck less, right?
This
So
is, I think
they're
this is,
trying to turn your
until
mount,
we
like,
actually
corner
experience
or
this and it
Yeah.
works, because they said they made this improvement in season 1, and they did not. So,
much less frequently
when,
to a dead
in,
stop
when,
or a
I won't, this is something I won't believe until I've played it.
that as well is,
So-
mounts can
You can't make me, you can't make me believe this until I've
regular
actually had
jump
time with
missiles
it.
like your player, but we're a little bit finicky about it.
They
so
were. Very fast.
I think some people didn't. In practice, they didn't always. They were a little bit too scared of jumping over traversals. So we fixed that. It's much more smooth now. So a lot less dismounting as you're traveling.
Sounds
around the
good.
world.
Hopefully it actually comes through.
And we also increased the base movement speed of mounts. This means that traveling on your mount in town, for example, will be faster. We didn't increase the top speed of the boost, so the maximum boost speed is still the same, but your base movement speed unboosted is going to be 14% faster.
Movement speed bonus decreased by
We
50%.
also
Okay.
made a change, and this is one that,
Duration, that's good.
All that's doing is undoing your
we have
cooldown
a-
nerfs, though.
we have sort of.
Can we just get our cooldown back?
Cool, I think it's like a very
Nope.
cool system for allowing the mount to have analog control with the mouse and keyboard. But the consequence of this is that it was sort of finicky. You really had to have the mouse cursor at the edge of the screen to
Yeah.
get full speed. And
I mean, this
if
is
you had it a little
improvement,
bit
but-
farther away, you kind of felt
Like,
well,
how did we have
I
a,
might be
like,
actually at full speed.
this is
Like, so you really
an
felt like
improvement
it
to
has
mounts.
be at the edge of the
I
screen
will,
at all
maybe
times,
mounts
because, of
will
course, when
be
you're riding through the
not
world, you
agony
wanna be going as
to
fast
get
as you
onto
can,
and off
right?
of and use.
So we made a change here. We didn't.
Yeah, we'll see
we
if
didn't
my horse
remove,
still does
some
his
players have
tippy
suggested,
taps.
Like, just make it binary. I should be at full speed all the time. But we made a change that makes it. The cursor is much more generous about allowing you to be at full speed. It's about half or so of the screen.
Sounds like so much
beyond
dev
that,
time
it's
to
full
make
speed.
something
you
so
really have to have
stupid
it
as having your
close to the
cursor's
mount,
distance make you go
want to
full
slow down.
speed when you could have just had it be an
Because
on-off
it's still handy
switch.
for navigating around between tight.
Like, why could it not just be an on-off switch for sprint or not sprint? It doesn't need to be this
Yeah.
complicated.
A little less, a little easier to use in general, right? Like it's easier to reach.
Using
that top
sprint on
speed.
breaks
You
through
don't have to
barricades,
have
though,
mouse
like, I mean,
far
that's
away and
GG.
planning
That's good.
Your path at the very edge of the screen constantly. It's just generally.
Does
not
mean
how
you're gonna
people
have
play
to keep a
when you're moving the game.
spur
You
ready,
have to be a little
though.
bit closer to
Can
the
I
mouse, their
just
character,
not
choose their
have to
mouse.
deal with the open world? Instead, can I be in a dungeon?
I think between the faster mount and moving the important things closer to the waypoint, that is the 40%.
Oh, that's the 40%. Yeah.
that is 41%. Those experience changes are massive. So,
This is just additive to it.
it-
so
but I think it's a great point because
While leveling faster is good,
as
there is a
Adam says as
compounding
well,
issue with
talent
that, though.
efficiency is also something
Where we get to the end
care a lot
And
about.
yeah,
faster.
yeah.
So I mentioned
Yeah,
the speed,
I mean-
the spur.
And you still give me no
speed boost
reason
on the
to
mount,
want to make a different
increasing
character.
duration. The
Slash
rate at which you
farm.
you acquire spur charges is the same. So that means that with the increased duration, you're going to be able to be boosted a lot more of the time.
Yeah,
when
way
you're
more,
riding
way
around.
more spur up time.
Yeah, quite. It's close to 100%. I think it's.
Why
pretty-
not just 100%?
It's pretty significant.
Yep.
And of course, this is.
But
great
you have to go
because,
slow in order to know what
you-
fast is.
Those pesky barricades.
That
Yeah, what I
isn't
do in
true, by the
town-
way. That's
cause your mount
false.
to stop, can be broken through. so
That
you
ex-
don't-
the experience that I have in town on the mount, that's what slow is.
Fancy in slide video. Just added, like the quality of the production has just
Yeah,
gone up.
yeah.
Just as
We put a video in a
the-
slide.
Got some
Holy shit.
Big Chad.
fancy.
We made a 2001 PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They've gone all the way to
And we have some
2023.
changes related to that as well. So some cooldown changes.
Oh yeah, these are really big.
Okay.
So I, as Adam
Oh.
mentioned, I posted.
This isn't
about
despairing or
in,
anything.
social media.
This is
And,
still fine.
One of the things that we
Forced
were
dismount? Why is it still 15
Why is
seconds?
there still 5 seconds for a manual dismount? Why can't I just immediately get back on my
And
horse?
then there's like a cooldown before you can mount.
I mean, it
again,
also
so
scales
it's
with your
hard to
cooldown
figure out
reduction.
Why that's like slowing
Yeah.
down the game for no reason, right? So we tested that in practice.
Dismount, combat
and
skill.
we
That's
found
pretty
that
huge.
While it was
Interestingly
cool,
enough,
what
but
was even better is just reducing the base cooldown of the mount across the board. So mount cooldown goes down.
so we played
5
for
seconds.
like 5 minutes and realized that like
realized-
this was terrible, so we still didn't remove it. We just cut the numbers down a bit.
Back on the horse,
Quite a bit.
halved from 30 seconds to 15. And
Also,
But
their
why-
video stopped working.
But why not remove
This
them?
is a really cool skill. We want it to feel like players.
This is not
can
actually
use it
working in the
powerfully.
slide. They're
So
clicking
this
play
is actually
and
the
stop
tool
and play
on
over and
it.
over again.
When you jump onto your mount, there's a few seconds before you can use it, and
They actually just have flashcards that they're having to
Yeah.
Yeah.
put in front of the camera
Around.
rapidly.
Really fast, yeah.
You need for a quest or for a whisper or anything else. Be able to just disengage right into them, and start the fight right away.
Like, why 5 seconds?
I would like make.
It doesn't take me 5 seconds to kill a pack of mobs after dismounting.
So wait, hold on, monsters. I'm gonna do this cool ability.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
wait, give me a little bit.
I mean, with a cooldown reduction build, if you're running, your normal 40%
Everyone
cooldown,
does.
yeah, it might be smooth, but like that still means that you should just have made the cooldown 0.
Production behind
Whoa.
the scenes, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
Is
honestly-
they're just smiling back there.
Did we just do a 2002 TV transition?
We are now
some
gonna talk
production.
about some changes coming for Nightmare Dungeons.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So Antonio, I know, can kind of take us through all our changes here.
No, that wasn't even 2000. That was a 90s TV show transition
The moment.
that they just did.
Yes,
Don't
that's
gotta
what
work on,
yeah,
so,
Yeah.
the 90s.
Yeah, we have tons of changes for Nightmare Dungeons coming this season.
That's right, inside the dungeon.
First big change
Oh!
that we have is
Imagine.
teleporting to a Nightmare Dungeon from the map will take the players directly inside the dungeon instead of.
Oh,
to
we got the video working again.
This will cut down on having the double load screens.
Why do you still have to click the teleport there? Why can't you just port me there when I click
That's
the button?
next season, okay? Next season, okay? They gotta
Don't
leave
drip
some
feed
room.
me updates.
Gotta
Just
leave
make
some
it work.
room.
I think this is
Oh, they gotta
pretty,
leave a little
like,
bit of room.
This will be a pretty popular change. I think this is something that people have wanted for a while, ever since we first implemented teleporting to Nightmare
No,
Dungeons.
you got that wrong. This is what people wanted from the second that they saw the game.
For me.
Yeah.
I'm supportive.
All right. Okay, and it's funny enough. What is our Matt? What is our stream software thing that we use? vMix. People are claiming we're doing this in PowerPoint. It's actually through vMix. So credit to
Wow.
them. There you go.
Dungeon
But we
event
could've gone
monsters density
easy way out of
increased.
that powerful
NPCs no longer get one shot in later world
Alright,
tiers.
sorry,
Hey,
sorry,
look, the
Greg.
change you wanted.
Hey, that's
I still
good.
think dungeon events are dumb as hell.
That doesn't. I mean,
So
the
our
density
dungeon
going up
events,
is cool.
Have more monsters.
They already have a lot of mobs in them.
And
They're just
also,
not worth doing.
importantly, in higher world tiers, your NPCs will no longer get one shot, so they will not be completely useless, or the events won't be hopeless when you're trying to defend someone from
That's
an
good.
onslaught of monsters.
Why?
Yeah, in general, I think this is going to be
Can't
great
we
for just increasing the
ju-
perceived efficiency of dungeon events across the board.
Right.
Why can't we just have more monsters spawn automatically? Why do I need to trigger an event?
Your friends and you are going to be okay. Like, you're just gonna leave.
I mean,
Yeah,
event
we're
style
looking at,
spawning is.
dungeon events a lot just between the seasons
Is a
and player
trend.
feedback to make sure that
But
they're fun
these
to
events are
play and
cringe.
people want to engage with them.
Eh.
And this is kind of one of those.
They
things where
are.
we
A
felt
little.
like, yeah, we could.
They take a long time to activate. They take a long time to end.
Yeah. So next.
They're way
we
out of the
have,
way.
Traps in our dungeons. The overall readability has been improved, and the crowd control on the player has been reduced. Look at that slow motion.
Slow motion action shot.
Okay.
So it will be easier to see these, and more importantly,
Like
when
Fireball.
you do get hit by them,
Fire bounce.
you are not CC'd long enough to where you will just instantly die all the time.
Yeah, and I want to
Okay,
call this out so players. I want to make sure players are not confused about this. we're not just talking about CC on the traps, right?
Right. We're talking about just CC across the board.
Wait.
Monsters, just in
That's to
general,
everything?
like,
That doesn't feel like that should be under the trap tag.
Yeah.
Then.
So if I get
So CC just overall has been reduced?
That's good.
That's a good change, but that seems like that should have some more details and more details and not just hidden under the trap section.
because you died.
Right.
Like, that's a
and this
huge
is really,
change.
valuable
Hopefully-
for density, of course, because there are more monsters on screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a pretty
Killing more
Cool if they
monsters.
showed us.
I mean, they showed the goat guy.
So, when players
Yeah, he's not CCing him with
actually
every.
hit him?
Yeah, he's not CCing him with every auto attack.
will see the full run
Oh,
through.
they could have shown us a before and after.
Look,
been nice.
yeah, he's not getting CC with every auto attack.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
What else we got?
My God.
Now what they need the before and after. So they show us the before.
Oh, fragment.
No, they
where
don't want to
he's just
show that.
getting
where he
chain
d-
fucked,
Yeah.
and
No, he would have
then-
died on the first auto attack.
Also, our Paragon glyph experience has been
Increased. Okay.
This sort of falls in line with like the 40%.
So they're wanting your glyphs are going faster.
You also will get
I mean, this is a compounding issue though.
a bit faster.
They're
so
just
that
shoving
as
us
you are
into the
leveling up,
bosses. The
your
bosses.
Paragon
No.
scales effectively with it, and you can feel more powerful.
Okay.
I mean,
It's not
they've got to
exactly-
compensate the speed though with this glyph change. That is fine.
That's it though, right? Oh no, wait. There's a whole other section.
Nightmare
there's
afflictions.
more stuff.
Ghost monster attacks from behind cause you to become vulnerable.
The afflictions,
That's
right?
true. Talk about afflictions.
So we have a number of changes.
Okay,
to
that's
some
still
of the
way better
afflictions.
than old
We are
Backstabber, though.
constantly, like,
Yeah,
looking
it
at
doesn't
these
just
and
immediately
evaluating
kill
player
you
feedback.
anymore.
The
Hopefully.
Yeah.
first one up
And
that
since
I
I'm guessing
talked
they're
about is
reworking vulnerable,
Backstabbers.
we'll know how much this
So
actually
what it
means.
used to be was
Yeah.
when a monster attacked you from behind, it just did a set increase in damage, which
Or
led
when
to
a ground
lot of
effects ticked on
players
you.
were getting one shot,
It
right?
was always behind
So
you.
We
Yeah.
changed
Yeah.
this so that
Which notably
the
isn't in here.
close monsters
They didn't say
attacked
this.
from behind.
Oh,
will
they're saying
not
close
touch you
monsters.
to become
Okay, maybe that's the
vulnerable.
distinction
That
now.
Vulnerable damage is that you take is increased on a scaling metric. So the higher the dungeon tier, the more damage that you will take. This gives you a little bit more opportunity to have a bit of counterplay. It's not just all of a sudden like you're dead.
You first become
you
vulnerable,
can,
and then you're dead.
Play around this. You can react to it.
Yeah.
If you manage to make a mistake,
That's better than
Also,
just
isn't
dying.
this
and strategize.
isn't
with it,
this
so
like
that
if you do get
don't
backstabbed though
immediately
and become
Yeah, I
vulnerable?
just that vulnerable condition
Now
there
all of
does
the
give you that
monsters,
opportunity
not
to
even
see,
just the
like,
backstab
actually,
monsters,
my health
are
globe is
dealing
cracked.
more
Yeah,
damage
yeah,
to
I
you.
need to be
Yeah.
careful as I'm getting hit because creatures can do a lot more damage to me while I'm in this state.
We'll have to see how it plays.
For monster critical resist,
Critical strikes for 3 seconds
now
per
the
egg, stacking
monster
up to
attacks
1%.
reduce the damage of your critical strikes for 3 seconds, and then this also scales by the dungeon.
But it's only if they land attacks.
So now,
I mean,
if-
that just happens.
Once again, like if
it
this
seems-
happens to you, you have the opportunity to
I mean,
play around it, and it's not just completely nerfing.
But like
your
if you
damage
hit a
all the
monster
time.
before
Yeah,
it attacks
people,
you,
would have
Yeah.
played
You'll
this
actually get the
one.
damage.
I don't know.
This
This
approach
is just
particularly
like-
'cause it was a
I
massive
mean-
reduction in damage overall because you didn't have any control over it.
It's
either,
like-
right?
Right, and just in
Not
general,
that.
what
This
we
is
want
just
to
these. A
avoid
mod like this is
are
just bad though.
afflictions that
So
are
like,
instant salvage, right? We don't want you to like. Look
This
at
is
your
still an
symbols and
instant
say, "I don't wanna
salvage."
play that," and then just toss
Yeah,
it
it's
every
still
single time you
instant.
see it. So this is sort of like a greater effort to make this a bit more fun, so you can see it and know that like it's going to be more difficult.
how
but
would you
not
make this a bit more? How do you? I don't know. Whatever. It's dumb. That's dumb design.
Death Pulse.
Mods like that are dumb design.
So we made some changes.
And
to
death pulse on monsters that have on death
Pulse.
explosions.
Now
Okay.
we prevent the
Going on
death
top of
pulses
each
from
other.
monsters,
Thank you.
That already have death explosions.
Why do we still have
like
death
the
pulse though? Can we
lunatic.
just not have it?
And we also prevent death pulses from spawning on top of each other or chaining with each other, so that you don't have to worry about an entire dungeon tile filling up with just death explosions that will one-shot you.
This is such a great change. So many times the lunatic explodes, and I'm like,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah.
I'm all good, and then I run in and like, no,
The
there's
lunatic
more
was bad
explosions.
enough. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I mean, it's an improvement, but I don't think it's enough of an improvement. That
Okay,
affix.
Lightning Storm. Being
Being
shocked,
shocked?
while in a bubble grants 35% bonus movement speed for 5 seconds.
that means that if you're in the bubble when the shock
This
comes down,
is
Yeah.
a change coupled with the other changes.
Only start when players are in
where it only
combat?
starts with when players are in combat. And it
There's
only
a
starts
direct
when you
path to
have
the-
a direct path to
How does that
the
make sense?
protection
That's
bubble.
gonna be. How does the game
These
act?
whole
How
six
spaghetti
changes
code is that
were
actually though?
basically implemented to make sure that Lightning Storm doesn't slow down
It's
your
still gonna
Nightmare
slow you
Dungeon
down, but
exploration.
that's an improvement, I
What we
guess.
were
I
seeing
don't
a
know.
lot was players wanted to get through the Nightmare Dungeons quickly, but when they had Lightning Storm, they had to like
I mean,
stop,
most of the
run
interaction with
backwards,
Lightning
go
Storm is you
hide in the
just
bubble,
use
Activate a
your
barrier.
shield to
then make
Yeah.
up
yeah
that lost time, stop,
to
go
live the
backwards.
hit.
So the movement speed bonus helps a ton because it helps you make up that lost time faster. And then these other two changes,
Unless
mostly
you were
focus
playing
on
a
some of the more egregious
Necro or a
examples
Sork, then
where,
you just die to
a
it.
traversal is in between you and the bubble and you can't get to it in time.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
or
you're
for
playing a
some
real
reason,
class like a
it's
druid.
just
Yeah.
a little too far behind you and it's difficult to get to. These will ensure that you know when the lightning storm is going to happen and you know there is a way to get to the bubble.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, that's gonna work in group.
Yeah.
And finally, drifting shade.
Okay.
The duration of
Why
the
does it
drifting
still
shade
last
has
3
decreased
seconds?
From 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and the respawn time has increased by 2 seconds. So similarly to lightning.
Why is this
storm,
still an affix though?
we
Like,
didn't want
why?
cases
Like, just
where the drifting shade
take
pops
it
up and
away.
Players spend more of their time running circles around the drifting shade than they do focusing on completing the dungeon itself. So this should make it a little bit easier for the dungeons to.
Kind
for
of
you
wish
to
they
be
would.
able to
I
navigate
mean,
the
I don't know.
dungeons,
This isn't really
with
the
drifting
forum for
shade,
it, but like,
and not
talk a
just
little bit
looking
about
over
why
it.
they even have negatives on the dungeon in the first place.
All right. More.
You
Yep,
can't just give
more
people.
Nightmare
You have to. You
Dungeons.
can't give people candy all the time, Persnickety. You gotta force feed them broccoli.
This is, in addition to Nightmare Dungeons, this is also for our normal dungeons, but
That
we
was the most
changed
satire I
some
could
of
vocalize.
the objectives for a handful of dungeons.
No, I believed you.
will
You
see
sounded
this
very earnest
in
there.
the Nightmare Dungeons for this season specifically.
Completely removed
but
objectives for hand.
we
Wait.
removed the
Okay.
objectives
Okay.
so that now
Thank you.
when you
Holy
go
shit.
into the
On the
dungeon,
critical path.
Holy fuck.
Doggies.
all you have to do
You know,
There's still an issue
imagine.
of-
Imagine when the first time we did a dungeon, I was like, these objectives are stupid. People just want to fight the boss. Everybody was just coping for months, saying that the objectives are fine and like they're a good part of dungeons. This is showing that obviously they weren't.
How it works with the dungeons that we've
Like,
implemented it on.
I feel so validated right now. You have no idea.
On player feedback to see how they like it.
They still have the issue of if you do miss something, you just still have to go back for it. You can't just keep going forward, but
I mean,
it'll be less of
with
an
this
issue.
change,
And
we can hope that the
finally,
next change will be
for
that they just
the
remove them all
total
completely
timer
and it's just hunt the
this
boss.
season,
Please
we
just hunt the
do-
boss.
Or it's just like they
we
overdo,
went
like,
and evaluated
there's
the
just
dungeon
instead of
layouts
getting
and
having to
we
free
redesigned,
five
a
five
number of
prisoners,
the-
Yeah.
you have to
So for the
free
ones
five
that
of
do
10
have
prisoners.
objectives,
So they've
Or-
redone
changed
more
them,
dungeon layouts.
to
Okay.
limit backtracking even further.
I mean, I've heard
But
those
we also
honeyed
wanted to be
words
conscious of
before.
making
Yeah.
the dungeons just feel too linear. So we found a good balance where the player can engage in the objectives and the content without having to spend so much time running back and forth. Which
Okay,
also
that is a good
contributes to the
design.
40%.
That is a lot better.
increase to get to level 100. But as you can see here, here's one of the nightmare dungeons that we have for.
So you walk
season 2.
down it and you go around the square and then you go
First
back.
objective here, we have
I mean,
our elites that you need
why
to
can't we
kill.
just have the
They were
line?
kind of off in the wings.
Why
and
can't
created these really
why
bad
can't this door that's
situations
way back
where
here
if you took
just
a
be
wrong
over
turn
here?
and then you realize too late
And then you just like
that
go
you
this way
missed
and then
one,
go down
you
that
have to
hallway?
go all the way back and
Why
track that guy
can't-
down
Yeah.
and waste a ton of time. So we moved these objectives to the critical path. So as long as you're just on
I mean,
the
this
main
is
path,
a
This
lot
doesn't
better.
seem like a great
you
example.
will
I mean, this is a lot better though.
And even if you do make a wrong turn,
Because
the
yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
if you make a wrong turn, you'll be back there.
it's
So
not that significant. So it's like just less downtime in between. Reaching
doesn't
the
seem
objective.
that great though. Seems like it could just be a straight line and everybody would be okay with that.
All right. Next we have.
It's okay though. They're slowly getting there, Persnickety. They're getting to
They're
what
improving.
they're getting to what's obvious if you just play the game for 10 minutes.
Hold the slide. I think.
There we
Here
go.
it is. Yes. So yeah, we've heard feedback from players that they're looking for more uptime on some of these events. They're looking for more opportunities to go and engage with this kind of content. So we made some changes as part of season 2.
Legion events
So
or whatever.
Right off the bat, Legion events.
I don't care about these
time
at
between
all.
events have been reduced from 30 minutes to 25 minutes. They're going to be more. You'll find them more frequently as you're playing. This is great because you do want to go farm these to get the materials you need to go fight Lord Zier. Particularly when you're in World Tier 4. So great opportunities for you to go and do these things. We've increased the duration of the.
I will say overall, the dungeon improvements,
moved up from 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
they are all good improvements, but they're all things that like
In a few different places, but
needed to happen, like absolutely needed to happen, and they're not as good as they could be.
they're just in an
Like
We still have the issue.
they're working in the right direction,
warning is up.
but none of those changes are like fundamentally altering to our
Minor
experience.
issues here where like Legion event pins would not
And they don't
display
extend
at
it
the
to
edge
where
of players'
Ross.
maps.
My
Whisper
key
was active
thing that I was
stuff.
looking for from
So
this
really, at the moment we really want players to go
is
after,
why are we going to
Legion
keep
event,
playing past a
It
week?
wasn't really showing up. We made the same change for World Boss.
This will make all the time you
World
you
Boss
do spend
boss,
playing though less annoying.
We made another
But
change
I don't think
here.
that that's
We
actually
reduced
like
the
that's
duration
just a
of the
no-brainer. Like that's just
World
what
Boss
you need
from
as the
2
game
hours
gets
to
older.
2.5 hours.
But I
So
don't
this
think
is
that any of
really
these changes
focused on
are
defined
fundamentally gameplay altering. They're just making the game playable. Does that make sense? Like they're making the game playable, but the game was unplayable. So like this isn't that much
So
better.
now there's more opportunities for players to end up getting their chance at a world boss, which is really good.
Yeah, likewise, we have increased the warning timer for these bosses from 30 minutes to 60 minutes to really.
These
let
Legion
players
events and
know
world
about the
boss
start.
things are what the fuck
So
ever. I
going
don't
into
like.
these
I like.
These have slightly higher drops for the
Yeah.
Lord Zir fight, for example, and they still have good rewards
Yeah.
attached to them as well. So those are up.
World
And then,
bosses are
we also
Omega
made
lol
sure that
content.
There's now a messages broadcast.
And
Legion
there
events
should
are Omega
always
lol
be
content.
Omega lol content.
15
Yeah.
minutes away from spawning. So again, doubling down, making sure the players are aware the world boss is about to kick off, so you don't have those
I don't know that-
situations where you
did we
just
even
missed
do a
it
Legion
and
event?
realized it was up. So we think that these are gonna
I
be
did one by
changed
accident.
quite a bit.
Okay.
All right. In-game activities.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. In-game activities.
Here. So one of the things we found in Whisper Cache is it used to be when you got into World Tier 3.
Whisper Cache will always be within 5
like sacred
What?
sigils and such.
Okay.
That when you finish Whisper Cache, you're going to you got effectively like the lowest sigil tier key from.
I mean,
that
you only needed
from
one
that
sigil to then start the chain.
So now the way it's going to work is when you go and you turn in.
You're just going to start at a higher tier. So instead of your first sigil being a 5, when you're at World Tier 4, it's going to be
random nightmare sigil on turn in.
It'll be
That
a
sigil is always
50,
gonna be
but
within
like
5
whatever.
levels of the highest nightmare dungeon you complete in that tier. So they're always going to be more.
So they're
relative
making
for
so
you.
they're wanting you to actually get sigils from your caches
So I think that's gonna be
instead of
really
just
helpful.
It
getting
seems like
sigils from
there's
sigils.
much more of an emphasis on whispers and like actually
Yeah,
doing
so
them
what
Yeah.
I really want to hammer down this
instead of just doing them once and then never
'Cause,
again.
yeah, they were
have
bad.
Really significantly increased, greatly increased. one might say.
Greatly increased.
increased.
That doesn't mean anything. I don't know. Like
Everyone.
their whole concept for their end game now is to force you into doing all the minor activities to then go fight a boss,
Collect stuff to go fight a boss, yeah.
and that is dumb.
The chance to reroll
Because none of these activities are fun still. So like
you're looking for.
it doesn't help.
Whispers end up being a really great source of gold.
Yeah.
Continue to farm.
I mean, Nightmare Dungeons are
Nightmare
almost
Dungeons
fun.
get stale.
Remain so.
Whispers get giga stale. Helltides are acceptable because you need the materials from them, but I don't know if they're
They're
actually
not
fun.
content.
Yeah.
Next up, so I know Joe already talked about some of the changes
Yeah.
we're making the experience in other places. Here we've
It's
also
been
made
increased.
sure that, like, Whisper turns
So they're just keeping, yeah, they're just trying to make the open world keep up with
in
with
Helltide caches, the
Nightmare
end
Dungeons again.
those moments are much more substantial in this point.
Why can't they?
we're okay
I mean,
with
that's
the idea,
fine.
like, that
But like,
Nightmare
can I get a
Dungeons is really
system
really great
that
source
actually
of
matters?
experience for players?
Far,
That's fine.
please.
We want to make sure that Whispers and Helltide features in particular are brought up to feel that they are more competitive with Nightmare Dungeons. But now that there's also the addition of these summoning materials that you need from these content types, there are also other rewards, and then even gold from Whispers. There's
Yeah.
other rewards
So they're trying to make it so they're just trying to make it so you can bounce around and not feel like you're wasting, like you're losing out.
Great, particularly on the one.
Yeah,
But-
I like this approach. I like this approach of
there are
trying to
advantages
bring
no matter
some
which way you go.
parity between
In game,
the
they're
different activities, so you
And
can choose to
yes,
do
some
whichever
minor things
activity
here,
you
so
want,
Yeah.
Whisper
while
Cache
still
is
having
granting items from
something that you
reward
can
tournament,
then
that weren't always tied to the slot associated with
is a
it.
special specific
Run
reward
through
to
gates
each
and things from
activity.
inside to
Yeah.
ensure that was
However, I
increased
think they
if you go
fumbled
and you
at the
open
very
a
end.
boost
The last
cache,
final
you're always gonna get
landing
boosts from that
is
cache.
that they
So
all,
that's gonna be
every
change. That's
single
also,
activity,
that change has been
all builds
populated
towards a
in your
boss
Get
as
to
the
Helltide
final
caches
end
as well.
point.
It
And I
shouldn't
think
be
that
the case
that's
anymore that you
Also,
that
can
fumbles the
open
bag.
it
none of
and
these
actually get
in-game
it
activities
along those lines.
are in-game
And then
activities. I'm
also,
sorry, they
Helltide
don't feel like
caches
it.
now also have specific icons.
Yeah,
There's something that you do it. There's
Whispers
something that you do at the end of the
Helltide.
game because that's all that is available. They don't feel like an in-game content
Light
though.
weapons or whatever else. It's a little bit easier for you to find.
They feel like the same thing you've been doing from the second you open the game.
So yeah, some good changes for end game activity stuff there.
I don't know. Just
All right. Next we got some UI.
Hoping for some more end-game activities. Well, nope.
end
Okay.
game.
There's literally no hope for the end game still.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What the fuck, man?
So, of course, players have been able to mark items as junk for a while now, and you can.
In your stash or inventory, favorite items
once
cannot
an
be
item
sold or
marked as junk,
salvaged.
You can actually sell
Okay.
junk in your inventory, which is pretty handy.
Okay.
But it's really
What's the
tough,
hotkey to favorite an
some
item?
Players have different ways
Alt.
that they want to manage their inventory. You know, they've got players who are like, I want to go back to town, and then I want to do all this, or I want to do it in the field. And so we want to provide more flexibility for players who like to manage their inventory.
The next
Can
thing
I
is
get
going to be
can I get a filter, please?
item
So
filter.
we've added the ability to
They're
favorite
It's going to be the
items,
next
and of
line.
course,
Is item
this
filter. We're
It's
going
not
to
going to
pog.
be.
where you might have
I'm gonna
accidentally
pog.
salvaged or sold
It's
an
not
item.
Out
going
of
to
my
be.
gourd.
It's not gonna be an item filter.
And,
Yeah. No item filter. Get fucked.
when you use the sort
No,
button
no, it's
in
still
your
coming. They
inventory,
still got
Yeah.
room.
on
Okay.
your stash,
Yeah.
There's still room.
The aspects that have the same power.
That is the same
now
power we
can
grouped
be
together.
stored,
Thank
That's a good
you.
change.
Holy shit! How is that not just a basic UI
A
element?
lot more when you're trying to dig through your.
Maybe because item has been improved to be more consistent. Thank you.
This
Okay.
is this one is a little bit subtle. So when you're looking
Thank you.
at the affixes
The
that
items
are
will
listed
be
on an item
will be
tooltip,
consistently in the
strength,
same
crit
order.
chance, something like that. The sorting of those affixes
Won't be
is
random to
now,
where crit damage will be on line
consistent
2,
within
but
the
crit
type
damage
of
on the other item was on
item.
line
So
3.
if you have two items that both have
I'm
strings
concerned
on
that
them,
this
the strength
means
is gonna
my
appear in
hope
the
for
same,
filters is
location
gone away.
vertically
Yeah,
that
it's
lists
gone.
affixes.
They're not gonna
Because
give
we're
you
gonna
that.
have to
Which makes it a
read
little bit
and
easier to
compare
evaluate
When you're comparing. both of
compare
them.
4
Yeah,
items,
exactly.
4 lines on one item to 4 lines on another item.
Dungeon map
And,
tooltips.
dungeon map tooltips. This is, I know, Adam. This is one that.
This is
Okay,
one I
cool.
like,
That makes
seriously
sense
saw
though.
this, I was
That's
like,
good though.
thank you.
When a dungeon's in a whisper zone, you can see if you've got the. That's useful for while you're trying to get your aspects, because that was kind of annoying.
It's no longer hidden by the whisper being active.
Other players still loading all our stash tabs? Oh, you bet.
Oh yeah, so far yes, they have not
Isolation. They're like, oh, thank
not
you,
mentioned
God,
that they're
makes it
fixing that.
like that
I
one
mean,
thing got updated,
okay,
which is
that is a
great.
fundamental part of every Diablo game so far, but that doesn't mean that it needed to be.
This is a
Yeah,
really cool
that doesn't
one.
mean it's
It's
good.
just bad
You can now
coding.
Search and filter your
Search and
stash.
filtered to quickly find
And
items.
we have
Okay,
a
what
video
does
of this.
filtered mean?
It's,
Show me the
text search.
video.
You've got a bunch of different filters down there. You can
Filter,
filter by
oh.
item type, item
I mean,
rarity. You can
that
filter
okay.
by
Why can't I just type?
secret and ancestral
Can I
items.
type? There's a
And,
magnifying
you can see
glass.
there,
Okay.
At the bottom, we've got a text
There you can
box,
type.
So, you can
Okay.
search for keywords and other text on the item.
Okay.
And this searches across
Across
all your
everything?
stash
Okay.
tabs, too. So if you take a look at the top there, you can see that the well, it's a little bit hidden by the tooltip right now, but you can see that there are 4 items in this tab that have that.
Can I still get more stash space?
and none in the other tab. Or in this case, there are 3 in that tab and 1 in the other tab. So they're highlighted, so make it easier for players to search through and find items in their stash.
Yeah, another a hotly requested item from players
Absolutely.
as well. A lot of our UI UX updates in general are, fueled by feedback that we've received either through social media or on our forums.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have some more.
Streamer mode has been implemented?
Players that want to hide identifying information, like character names or BattleNet
This is
tags,
for me.
for other players, can now find these
Bad
settings in the
chest.
social options menu.
Streamers
Streamers,
mentioned.
You got
Okay.
streamer mode.
Streamer mode.
How much has been added for hiding?
This is one that we've
Huh?
seen a lot of feedback on. Players
Oh.
want to be able to hide vulnerable.
Thank
the
you.
status
Okay.
Effect text, so vulnerable, dodge,
I
fortified.
just want to see my
This is an
numbers.
option for
Okay,
adding
thank
to
you.
the, to
Yes.
to hide those.
Perfect.
Can we
item
also
vulnerable
show
and
only crit
combat
damage
numbers.
numbers?
Yeah,
That's
this
a-
is
that's a
direct
good-
response
that's
to
a good
everyone,
change.
On X and other media platforms that will text on a regular basis asking for this option. It's
Yeah,
like,
they'd be
that's
like,
very
I can hide the
reasonable.
numbers, but I can't hide,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fortify.
Totally fair. Happy to get this out to players. Yeah.
Okay, next change is going to be hiding your non-crits.
And we've added
Never
an
mind.
auto run feature.
Auto run,
So
huh?
you can
Nice.
bind a key to auto run, and
That's good.
Then you can.
We're truly an
the
MMO
character
now.
will run in the
Yeah.
same,
This is what truly makes it an MMO is auto
control
run.
or,
Can we just get that for our mount to auto run our mount to a spot? That'll be next season. We'll be able to auto
it's
run
auto
to locate,
navigator.
auto navigate.
inventory, bring up
Please.
those kinds of things.
Get with the Immortal team. Get Auto Navigator in.
And then we we have a lot of
One more thing.
Out further to capture white.
wanna
Thank
fight
you.
Like,
Holy
it's
shit.
So much stuff, and
Okay,
I
that's
know,
good.
I try
Yeah.
to get ahead
That's
of
good, that's
myself.
good, that's
Yeah,
good.
but
Let's go to the next section.
This one is important.
How much just farther out mean? Can I get a comparison video?
Was talking about the.
I love comparison
the improvements
videos.
to Nightmare Dungeons to help navigate through them. This change to the minimap significantly.
He said
zooms out,
significantly.
The base zoom level. Of the
Their
map,
Blizzard saying
really helps
significantly means
players,
nothing to me.
Navigate through towns, navigate through some areas of the world that are, sort of more dense in terms of terrain and obstructions, and navigate in dungeons. This means that when you're in a dungeon, you can see more of the
Okay.
dungeon layout that's near your player on the minimap than you could before.
I'll take it.
Yeah, if you're approaching a fork in the overworld, you're not sure which way leads back to the main trail. Like this is definitely a huge benefit. For
If you're in the overworld and you don't want to just hit M,
And I know now I can get ahead of myself here. We have a lot of updates regarding items.
Okay, this is where they're
going
gonna
to
mention the filter.
So, Mr. Joey P.
Oh yeah, sure. Happy to talk about some things. So yeah, we made a few changes. I know that some things we've already
drop
talked
as
about
rewards.
before,
Now players
right?
can earn gem
Here,
shard material. They use the jeweler to
gems
craft
don't wanna drop
gems.
directly as rewards.
Thank you.
Now, players
I mean,
can
this is
use
just
gem
this just
shards,
works.
fragments,
Whatever.
materials they can use at the jeweler to craft their own gems. So basically, as
Well, like,
you're wandering through the
yeah.
world,
So far, all we've gotten is hotfix,
chests,
not actually any
you drop these
content.
fragments as you play, and rather than having like individual.
Like I said, I think I said
content
it
for the
perfectly.
season
is the bosses.
is one quest line
and then
And 5
the
bosses.
bosses.
Yeah.
And the bosses are good,
But that's not
it's not
it's not an in-game still.
in-game.
on items the way that you like.
But like I think I said it perfectly earlier. All they are doing is making the game playable
out of your inventory and gives
instead
you
of actively dissuading you from even doing anything. They're making the game see like you could actually bear with it. But there's still no end game if you're somebody who's just willing to play. If you're somebody who is already willing to play, there's still nothing for you. So like, that's
Unless
the
you
problem.
really like bosses. If you like bosses,
It's still gonna get old, and you're gonna stop after a couple days.
And you also
Yes.
salvage those gems that you do create, and then use those materials to go and create better gems.
Like
So, yeah, big changes
it's
there.
still
Frees up a lot of
completely lacking in the end game department. There is still no end
Costs
game.
been updated. What a strange pseudo line, right?
Have been
So
updated. What does that
ultimate-
mean?
The ultimate thing
Updated.
here that I want to cut to is enchantment costs overall have been reduced, but the way that works out is that your initial enchant cost is going to be a little bit higher than it is
Why?
currently for your
Why does the initial one need to be higher? Explain.
Then the progression of the cost of that re-enchanting that item is going to go up much more
don't
slowly
understand.
over time. And
Why?
not going to spike quite as quickly. So players
It's
who
still
overall
just
then it's
one
a little bit less
line
expensive for
of
players to
text
go and
on
try
your
to
item.
re-roll items
I don't-
to their heart's content to find things.
okay.
And this partnered with the changes that we made to Whisper Bounty cash turn-ins, where you get like way more gold from the at those moments.
I have,
Greatly,
dude. I have.
significantly increased
I-
in those situations.
They-
are going to help.
They're giving me some hope, and then I just lost all of it with this reasoning here.
Using a lot of that gold to go and trade and do other things.
How?
Big changes, Eggman. Big changes.
Like, what?
Okay, so another really big change here is that when players get into higher world tiers, I'll read the line and then I'll explain it. So crafting materials will drop in place of lower item power, normal magic, and rare equipment in world tiers.
We're only going to see
Okay.
legendary items.
Perfect. This is a good change. Now, okay, you've got me hooked again. Now, make it make sense. Don't just say something stupid.
Having normal items dropping for monsters. The only items that will drop for monsters in World Tier 3 will be sacred in nature. They're equipable gear, right?
And it'll just
So
auto trash the
instead,
lower
when
ones.
you would have got like a rare item before, that.
Oh, this isn't removing the ancestral whites, blues, and everything. It's just giving the ones, the dumbass 1 out of 15 items that was regular rarity will now be a material.
Increase.
Okay, they lost me again. This is dumb.
They lost me again.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb, dude. You didn't pick those up anyway. You didn't sell them off. You didn't pick them up.
Now I will say that if you
They fucking lost me again. They
of normal quality that you could have gotten level 50, in World Tier 2. If a legendary item drops for you, that will still appear for you in World Tier 3. So
That was fuck. They lost me, bro.
legendary items that potentially
They lost me.
part of the experience.
They were close.
When you go
That
into
was fucking dumb.
They were close.
Only ancestral items will drop as you're playing. You will no longer see sacred items or normal items from that point forward.
That doesn't.
Once again,
I didn't pick up sacred or normal items, so yes, I am getting more materials, but I'm still having to sift through all of the same shit anyway.
as you continue to play. But For the most part, getting a ton of these items
No,
out of your
that's-
inventory as part of this change.
I mean, it's a good change. It just doesn't
changes are gonna help
amount
out
to
a lot
anything.
with, inventory management for players and ensure that they're focusing on like the items that they're
We
really gonna
already
want.
only
Of course,
picked up
we get
ancestral
the
items.
benefit
Yeah,
of getting
we are going
more
to
materials,
benefit from more materials. That is
were
true.
dropping before
But it
the
doesn't
first
solve the
tab.
problem of our inventory still just being swamped anyway.
Absolutely. So yeah,
Of
that's not even the
shit
end.
items, so we then have to.
Yeah.
So
They had me for a
Read.
second and then lost me.
And again, this is on the Eternal Realm and also on the Seasonal Realm.
Higher level monsters
started
will
to go
drop
into
sacred
World
and
Tier
ancestral
3 and
items of greater
4,
animal power.
items
Okay,
dropping
I
for
mean-
you are gonna
Didn't
be
that already
more
happen?
powerful
Question
based on the
mark?
monster level that you're fighting.
Huh?
Okay, this already happened, but they didn't admit it ever. They said it. They actively said it didn't happen, but it happened.
Season and season
Okay.
1. Season 2
Yeah.
represents the first really great opportunity that we've had to spend a good amount of time.
This already happened. They're literally just coping as developers, saying that they made this change. This already happened.
Offer things like this.
Nobody believed this. This literally already happened.
Players will get into World Tier 3. They'll finish off a lot of the gear that they need inside Sacred Tier fairly early. 50, 55, 56. They start getting ready to make the transition potentially early into World Tier 4 to get into their Ancestral Tier. And then that can end up in a situation where by the time that you are level 65, 68, 70, you've kind of collected all the ancestral gear.
This is them just being out of touch with how the game actually works.
Once you get into that tier, but you might have
So,
already
like-
got all of the gear that you're looking for, particularly eye power wise, as you're progressing through. Now the way that we've changed things is that starting in Sacred Tier,
I'm letting them
we'll
cook,
talk
I
about
guess.
Sacred Tier first. So,
Why talk about Sacred
if you fight
Tier?
level 55
No
monster,
one
you have
cares
the
about
typical
Sacred Tier.
eye power range when you're fighting that creature. When you fight a level 56 creature, the eye power minimum and maximum of that range increases by 2. So every monster level from that point forward, the eye power of the potential output of that item is higher as a result of that.
This already happened.
You want to go and try to fight higher, more difficult, higher level, more difficult creatures
This-
as they're
this-
progressing through the game.
Already happened. This exact thing already happened. This is how the game works right now. You're telling me
Level trailing change we made earlier in the presentation today.
you're telling me a change
That was kind of
that's how the game
other
worked.
things we're trying to do to make sure the players felt they were getting more powerful as time progressed.
I'm going to assume that this is just them being completely ignorant to the end game, the actual ending game of their game.
And when we think about
Right? Like it can't, like they can't be actually trying to
into that part of the game,
give us info at saying this is a big change when this is how the game already
go
worked.
and kind of gather items of value
Right?
that they can use to
Like there's no way this is how they're trying to sell this to me right now, right? Like I'm going crazy.
in an effort to hit that
I think
solution.
I must
The
be
field is not
misunderstanding
getting-
something.
not getting any real progress
Because
past level
I-
70 in this case, if you're
This
getting
this
into
is already how it worked, right?
But it wasn't obvious.
it's not worth the
I
cost of
guess.
making sure that you've got your time
I mean,
to
I,
think
they might have made a change that made
You
it like
you
more
needed to be farming
ramp?
high nightmare tier dungeons to notice this.
In World Tier
But
4,
it did
starting in
happen.
5, You'll have the typical range, but then that continues
Maybe
to
it's
go
more
up by
clamped to
2,
where you just
for
can't
every
get
monster
the
level above
lower
that,
shit
stars
anymore
going
because
up really
sometimes you
high.
would still get stuff
Once
that
you
was
get to
I don't
level
know.
100, now you're dealing with ancestral items of eye power potential of 920 at that point, and that's just at level 100.
Maybe they're just more
Once you start
strict
fighting higher
about
level monsters than level 100, when you're fighting like level 101 monsters.
Wait,
Exactly.
okay.
The minimum range of the
Hold on,
item
let cook.
goes up by 1 for every monster level from that point forward.
Okay.
So you'll get to a point where you're fighting level 150 creatures and such that the eye power range of that item, 175 monsters and such, the eye power ranges of those items are effectively like on par. Like they are, it's like 920 to 920 is like the end result long term as you go
Oh.
deeper and deeper into the system.
Okay, the max item level is just going up.
Window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By 100.
So that as you're getting drops for yourself in the world.
Okay, so they're upgrading the item level, but the reason
but
why
not the world tier.
they're upgrading the maximum item level when you farm higher monsters, but that's how items already worked. It just capped at a lower number. So it still works the same.
that we're talking about here.
It's just the cap goes slightly higher when you're farming higher.
More armor value,
Yeah.
more armor pieces, and more of the inherent resistance, which is so much more important now. And
But they're still trying to play it off as like this is new.
attached to your jewelry.
That's how the game already worked. What's really new here is that item level is going up a little
This
bit.
is naturally going to push players to fight more difficult monsters, and we want that. We think that's fun, right?
Normal
But that's
Whisper
not,
Cache?
we want to make sure that
Plus 10 item power?
also provide the opportunity.
Dude, they really are pushing for this Whisper shit to be
So one
farmed.
other change that we made here for Whispers, for example.
I think that's
is that
good.
the
I think
caches
it's
that you
good to
get
try and
in the Whisper
have
tournament,
different
the rewards for that are actually 10
activities
high power better.
that are
Say that
viable.
they have 5
This also means though
higher
that you
than
can't like this means that you can't gear an alt even harder now.
caches are based on your character level at the moment that you turn these things in. Based on the world tier.
Locked on your character
Now there's
level
an
still.
upsell, so you get additional item power value from the items that you get from that cache normally. And then, in addition to that, the upgrade cache is the legendary cache that can occasionally.
I don't know. To me, I'll have to see how this. Like, this is something where we have to play with it for me to know. Because right now, what they are advertising to me right now, as somebody who's played the game, is exactly the same gameplay, just with a slightly higher end at the highest end, with the exact same outcome. So.
And then next, of course, is Helltide caches also benefit from the same change, in that all Helltide caches, starting right in World Tier 3,
I think this is basically. I think all these changes are basically irrelevant.
Now, a question that might get asked is, does that mean that that eye power value is going to go above the cap of what Sacred or Ancestral would normally provide? And the answer is no.
The answer is
no. What?
No.
Only that.
Bro.
Don't
fucking
even bring it up then.
You fucking lost me again, dude. Like.
And again,
and that answer is fuck you.
Yeah. What? Bro. What?
Yeah. There we go. Because I know there's a lot of people asking 820, 920. So.
Yeah, we think that these are going to be some good changes for players to feel that they're getting some of those upgrades as they play through those content tiers in World Tier 3 and World Tier 4. They have a smoother journey as they continue to level up their character. This mixed with like the experience point changes and a lot of the Nightmare Night stuff that we talked about so far, represents a big, basically us trying to respond to like our experiences playing again, and then the feedback from players.
I'm gonna like go back to 20 minutes or 30 minutes ago when we were talking about the 5 bosses and being able to progress through them. One thing that we talked about Uber Duriel, and how
Duriel, king of maggots, His Majesty.
Exactly. Uber Duriel. But with all these new bosses, because they all have their own loot tables and everything associated with them, at least with Duriel, because that in itself is a level 100 boss. So what type of...
Also, apparently he misspoke. Apparently the item power is still 820 at the cap. So it just works exactly the same as before. Nothing has changed.
So there are unique items that Duriel drops that are
literally nothing has changed.
And coming in with Season 2 that only come from Duriel that are just really powerful, right? And then
except that you can't get things below 820 power from...
If you're farming Nightmare Dungeon 150, if you're farming the highest tier Nightmare Dungeon, Nightmare 100, and killing...
Everything is...
But that... It already was. Everything was already 800 plus. It just range of 800 to 820. So now the range is just 820. It's just always capped.
Yeah.
The power range for Duriel is much smaller than 75. I don't remember exactly what the range is specifically for that number. But,
yeah. It's not actually a relevant change. They just don't understand how their game already worked.
Chance to drop. It still will certainly drop. From Duriel, those are always rolled at cap. So they're always rolled at the highest eye power possible. And all of the affixes on the Uber Unique also always roll at the highest values possible.
What?
So when you get an Uber Unique
it's
item,
perfect.
There's not a
it's
better
primal
version of that specific Uber Unique item that you can get. That's always the very best one.
Yeah.
So now Uber Uniques, like even if you find a Shaco out in the world, so if you do find a Shaco out in the world though, it's now just invalidated because you could have just farmed the boss.
It's just not primal.
Yeah. Of changes.
They're actually so stupid, dude.
And again, like to reiterate,
that's actually
just removing content.
Yeah, that.
Well, I don't know. The Uber Uniques out in the world are in content, so.
And I will note, like unique item changes, like I said before, like pretty much almost all unique items, or nearly all unique items, are getting some sort of update.
Do I get any?
We'll talk about on October 10th.
That's the 10th.
I know a lot of people.
I have to wait till the 10th.
It has to be like 5 hours long.
You haven't actually told.
Through everything
I haven't actually seen any. You haven't. We're an hour and a half in, and I haven't actually found. You haven't given me like any info yet.
He's on vacation.
We're getting a quest line. And 5 new bosses, Eggman. What are you talking about?
That stuff. We're also going to be talking about, the
Didn't you see the graph? There were lines.
And stuff that we've been talking about already today, and how it's going to be much more valuable for people to be ensuring that they have it on like rings and all those other.
Well, and there are changes to the. We're gonna get into it, but there are changes to the way that it works. So. Yeah. Like, folks at home might be saying like, oh, that like there's a resistance boss, but like with the current resistance system, how is that going to work? And the 1010 stream is really going to explain it. How those
just make me wait a week.
And I will also note that on the 1010 stream, we will even be talking about the first update that will be coming even after Season 2 launches. And that's something that we can briefly talk about here, which is after season 2 launches, we'll of course have additional updates that'll be coming within the season.
And
each of these updates are.
And also, yeah, I wasn't. The only thing I'm concerned about making resistance bosses is the question of why, not how am I going to gear for them. The question is why resistance bosses.
Features that players have been asking for. So we'll be actually showcasing what 1-1.
Because PoE was doing that with their bosses, and then realized around Shaper time that was dumb as fuck, and stopped doing it.
Post season 2. Yeah. And of course, we have a lot more to even talk about at BlizzCon.
But obviously, D4 is the first game, so
gonna be
first
BlizzCon,
ARPG,
make
first
sure to check it
game.
out. Of course, we'll be streaming, and there'll be more information about. I know, the BlizzCon collection items and everything that will be available for players to be able to.
So they're gonna be giving us more info about the game at BlizzCon. That's 2 weeks. That's 3 weeks after the season starts, guys.
That are gonna be featured.
Nobody's gonna be playing the season.
Like World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and all the others. So.
But most importantly, at BlizzCon, you can bug Adam in person.
Yes, you can bug all of us in person at BlizzCon. So make sure to if you.
I'm getting a headache.
To Anaheim.
This was so disappointing. I can't even express it.
Grab a ticket to BlizzCon, which is.
This is exactly what I was. Okay. You weren't here last night before I did stream. I was getting very copium hyped this morning, and this is exactly what I didn't want to happen, because this is exactly what until like pre 24 hours ago I thought the stream was going to be. This is actually less than I was expecting, and that is impressive.
Items that we were talking about where the tiers of the Smoldering Ashes were pretty deep in, and you know, you would.
They've somehow disappointed me again.
And I know one of the big changes that we're doing is the character level requirements for those.
At least with this stream, there might be some content in the 1010 stream that I really like, but this stream in particular has just let me down more.
Use them, and they will automatically unlock now, which is really nice.
It's the multiplicative XP.
The actual battle pass
that's cool.
Through. Which is
so if you happen to like miss one when you're leveling up, which I think happened to a lot of players, certainly happened to me. It's like so now when you go back to the when you go and you actually open up the battle pass, you'll see that you've already unlocked those Smoldering Ashes. You can go right and spend those in your season blessings and benefit from them right away.
On new season blessings, yes, there are 3 new season blessings for season 2 that will be part of the new battle pass, of course. And of course, one other thing with the battle pass is there is going to be new town portal skins that will be unlocked and available for players as well.
Town portal skins?
Of course, you can now change from blue town portal to different color town portal if you'd like, and there will be other town portal skins available in the battle pass as well. So
yeah, I like this angelic sort of feel.
That's sneaky.
Very cool.
Yeah, you can look like you're friends with Imperius or like best friends with Imperius. With your new town
and again,
portal.
The free track.
Exactly.
Yep.
Imperius, Inarius, sorry.
Well, any of the angels.
Technically,
just pick
it would be more
angel.
orange, I would say, if it was Imperius to match him. So I've been playing some Heroes of the Storm lately. So
love Heroes of the Storm.
Got Imperius.
Oh yeah, Heroes of the Storm, definitely a relevant game.
Well,
definitely playing.
Another big news thing that we did want to actually talk about today as well, which is we are bringing more Diablo 4 players into the world, because we're here to announce that Diablo 4 is actually going to be launching on Steam with the launch of Season 2.
How's that going to bring any more?
Diablo 4 will be available on Steam.
Some people don't use the Battle.net
being on Steam, of course,
app, I guess.
It carries over the
Why?
same elements as all the all the other platforms. So cross-play.
More platforms always bring more players.
Day 1 for anyone who does purchase on Steam. And so if you have friends on Battle.net and they prefer to play on Steam, they can, of course, play together from both, which is awesome to see. So
I think that it does it.
Content.
Immediately after the stream for Diablo 4 coming on Steam. It's really nice if you have a Steam.
It's marketing though.
Being able to play Diablo 4 because you can now.
It's not important for us.
Like on the road with you, which is really good to see. So,
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
it's gonna bring more casuals.
Sanctuary on the go, yeah.
And make more money
which is good.
for them.
By the way, cross progression and everything.
I mean, the only thing it's going to do is make them more money, but it's also like not actually going to bring that many players. It's going to make them some more sales, but like it's not actually.
I don't know how many people are. I don't know how many people.
Modern gamers
on
aren't
Steam.
opposed. Yeah, aren't opposed to just downloading Battle.net.
Also On
Yeah, it's only
Battle.net.
casuals.
We're gonna go through
Bring
some
more
Q-
casuals.
Q&A.
It's not. No,
This
the
is questions
casuals
from everyone.
also are
Oh,
okay
on
with just.
Battle.net.
Yeah, they're also just
Question,
okay installing
and
Battle.net.
you're
That's
in
not the
chat,
issue
feel free to
here.
ask the question. We'll try to grab as many questions as possible.
I thought they were gonna say
Use my
mobile.
trusted
If they had said
guide,
mobile, it would have been
and,
actually
ask the
players.
questions, and of course, call out people's names and attempt to
Or Switch. If they had said Switch.
pronounce them correctly. But I know we will start off with one.
Isn't it already on
first
Switch?
question here as I
Don't think so.
grab more
No.
within the group. But what plans do you have for itemization?
Yeah. So we've
Tune into the
talked
1010
about
stream.
feedback about the feeling of earning.
This is what we're
rewards
gonna
in
get here.
Diablo 4 and the feeling of like the power of those items and how interesting they are and how easy they are to compare and what the path towards getting like perfect items feels like and really what players are meant to do once they reach like that threshold of the game where they're trying to like fully like perfect their build. We have a lot of ideas of things we want to add on the itemization side in Diablo 4. The sorts of things I talked about earlier in the item section, like those really are just like some first small steps of the sorts of things we want to do. But we're reading through all this feedback. We have all like really interesting ideas.
This is a
and designs
non-answer.
we're working on
Yeah.
the side. We're excited to be able to bring those things to you.
No, this
and
is
we'll be talking about
holy
more
shit.
in the future. But yeah, we have big plans for itemization for Diablo 4.
Yeah, I mean, really, the
was-
themes here are more.
That was such a.
ambitious
They
and
just
improved
slapped me in the dick so hard right there.
All right.
Do that little. Yeah.
It's like
He
we
just.
don't know
Itemization?
yet
Yes,
what
that's
to-
a word that
he-
applies to Diablo 4.
He
Thank
just
you for the
spent.
question.
He just spent a minute and a half saying nothing.
Teleporting from Nightmare Dungeon to Nightmare Dungeon sometimes isn't very fun and wasn't the best way to fix the time issue. Is there more plans for open world elements? Using mounts sometimes doesn't feel like it matters after a certain point.
There's a good. You have an answer to this. You have the answer to
yeah,
this.
I'm not sure what is being asked there.
I can
They're
answer
asking
this
if there's gonna
question
be,
for
like,
you.
some more plans for some like open world
The answer
content
is that we've revamped
that will
the
be on the open
reward
world.
structure for
And I think
Whispers
a lot of this ties
to
back
revamp
some
the
of
open
stuff that
world
you're actually
content,
seeing in
and that should.
Seasons, because Seasons actually.
But they doing that, right?
Yeah,
Increase
they are
the
doing this.
reward.
You have the answer. Tell them the answer.
Yeah.
With us being able to add additional objectives and everything for players to actually grab.
There are. We want to have a mix of gameplay that occurs in dungeons, which is core Diablo gameplay, and gameplay that's occurring in the open world. And so with Season 2, you see things like the
Blood Harvest.
new
Yeah,
Blood
he's getting
Harvest,
there. Good
exactly.
job, Joe.
And some of the changes like the monsters being on level with you in open world. And
It's a live Q&A. He had to think about it for a second. He had to get the brain going.
Monster power.
Yeah, in addition to that, just making sure that the various activities we have in Diablo 4 feel more rewarding to engage in on their own. One component of that being that the summoning materials that you need to go and farm these bosses that you want for these special unique items, and in some ways to go and challenge Duril as well for those uber unique opportunities. Like these represent, I think, good steps forward to kind of make these content feel more compelling in general. But as we continue to march forward and we're looking at, I mean, we showed the content chart earlier with like all of the bosses and the way that we're sort of thinking about various parts of the end game experience. There's a lot of room there for us to continue to create more distinct.
Yes,
activities
less
that
bosses.
appeal to different kinds of players.
Some more not bosses, please. Fuck bosses.
Make things more fun and engaging for players. So this
Yeah,
really is,
but
again,
that's
like,
something
and-
that you
like,
actually
1% of the sorts of things we want to
request
add
before.
into
Like,
Diablo
there is
4.
people that like to do bosses. Add more bosses for them.
Is a part of that.
But the bosses.
That's all they
need to
added.
have-
You know,
The problem
Monster
also
Destiny
with the
is like 20
bosses
million
is that the
gameplay.
rewards
It's
from
not
the
about
bosses are not
Adding-
tradable.
Adding it and the relevance of the content in the world.
Yeah, but that's
Because,
another thing.
If there's
No, they're
content
part of
in
the same
world,
problem.
But it's not relevant, then you're just riding past it.
Yeah, it's a twofold problem. One is that we
we
need
have a
content
question
that isn't just bosses for the end
Legless
game,
puppy,
like the
which already
pinnacle end
rolls
game.
around on wheels.
And then
Probably
the other is that the
sounds
bosses
very
that they have added, the rewards from them need to be
I guess it
tradable.
has wheels.
Yeah.
Sure.
Rolling on some good rims or something.
Okay, I guess Adam likes
but-
taking legs off puppies, but
weird
weird take.
Is there any chance of the level cap being removed off of Paragon glyphs?
I would like that change.
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure.
Remove?
So we have
Please.
talked before quite a bit about
Or just
how
increasing
we
the
look
cap to
at
like
power
100.
progression in Diablo 4, particularly like we talked a lot more about this like before launch.
21 is an odd number.
But Diablo 4
Yeah.
is designed with the idea of kind of cap power progression sort of in mind.
Why?
We want to make sure that we find the right ways for
Because it's
players to
good.
continue to grow the
No,
power of
it's
their
not.
characters, as
It's
they
good.
continue to engage in the game.
It's obvious not by the game having no players.
As they reach level 100 and they're looking for more ways to get stronger and get more powerful, we want to find more ways for them to do that.
Cap can be okay. It just needs to be a cap that's a little higher.
And don't feel like this extra.
And by a little higher, I mean quite a bit higher than what we have currently.
Yeah, I think if I think about the reasoning behind that question, I think part of it comes down to, you know, we talk about cap power progression, which has good reasons, like you're talking about, but also players are saying like, well, I ran out of stuff to do. Can there?
Okay.
Be
Yes.
do, right. And
now give me a reason. Tell me that we're gonna do that.
Increasing the Paragon glyph cap could be one way to do that. The way we're doing it in season 2 is through all
the
of
bosses.
the ending boss summoning mechanics.
Boss summoning mechanics and then powers people level up.
Fucking useless.
But,
the powers are not going to take
not
long
useless.
to cap,
it's
though.
not just having more things to do. It's making sure that there are more things to do that impact.
It's effectively useless. It doesn't expand the lifespan of the game long enough.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a much better way to say it.
No. Yeah,
but that's
useless. It's all fair, right? I think that there's room here for us to continue to add
It's
more
content
of
to
that,
do.
Add more to that experience.
It adds like a day.
Yeah.
Look forward to more of those, updates as we continue to kind of march along.
Yeah.
You can do it for days
Navas
if you're
says,
chasing items.
Could we
It's
have a
content to
Paragon
do.
board reset button?
But it's not
Or be
fun.
able to buy it resets
For you.
for a set amount of gold or something.
Yeah.
Won't talk about it.
But you can say
today,
it's
but
useless because you don't get fun doing that.
Wink.
It's content for the game for people that like that.
There you go.
Yes, but what about the majority of people that don't want a boss farm?
Is, from,
Because that's the majority of people.
kind of pronounce it.
Oh, where you get that information?
DEYV.
Where is that data?
Question about Uber uniques. Is there a
The
chance
fact
for
that
you
the
guys-
end game of the game right now is Uber Lilith, and the game doesn't have players.
Uniques are going to be one of those things that are going to get discussed.
The end game of the game is not Uber Lilith.
Talking about
It's the Nightmare Dungeons.
Classes.
I mean,
Number
according to their
dungeons.
chart,
According to their chart, the end game is Echo of Lilith.
Or the affix and skill bucket changes they've made. So I think that's a good question for that group to answer as part of that conversation.
And that chart says Number Dungeon into the thing on the ice.
Some Uber uniques.
Which is a boss.
Over Lilith, the real.
JJ Luff
That thing you're talking about?
is
No, but the previous
stats
one they had
stash
before they added
search
the
usable for legendary
bosses.
powers and affix.
Yes.
Yes.
I
And search
woke
for
up
those.
late.
So it'd just be, searching through the box or anything like that because we do have that field that lets you actually.
That was earlier in the
look that
stream.
up specifically from that end. Nelix87 says, are there any plans to give clans some love? Currently, clan management is very limited.
Please.
Clan leaders and their officers has very minimal tools to track anything related to the clan.
Can we get our? We were promised a guild hideout when the game was coming out. Where is that?
More opportunities
Is that
for
true?
clans to actually be able to.
They said there was going to be
I
a
didn't
guild.
I never read the.
They said there was going to be a
consider beta.
guild-only spot where guilds could manage stuff,
Oh.
and we don't have that.
More cool things for clans.
We
to
need
do
that.
together,
Yeah, for sure.
Because you have the warband shit in Immortal. Like,
Peter Odin
In the
says,
future, okay,
will
soon
we be
TM.
receiving more coins in the battle pass instead of 666. And I know that there is a change this season for the battle pass because there was a lot of feedback where players would receive platinum and then they wouldn't be able to actually end up using that platinum to be able to grab something from the shop. You will be able to use platinum from the battle pass this season because there's going to be options now that will meet that specific amount. So players will have some options available.
oh, unlucky, we didn't give you
So
enough
the answer
coins.
is we don't give him more. We are giving option like a budget.
Yeah.
How many
Oops, sorry. You mean we tempted you guys to spend $5? Guess we'll just still do that, but
So no news on items just yet. So in terms of the number of uniques we're adding every season,
That's fine for now.
We've been sticking to around 6 so far. There are more than 6 as part of season 2. So we'll
More
talk
than
about
6,
that. We'll do a
okay.
vlog, we'll talk about some of these numbers. But yeah, I think there's more than there's like 12 uniques in season 2 right now.
Yeah.
We'll be continuing to evaluate these counts as we go, but now that there's ways for players to farm these things, we're excited about trying to find more opportunities to inject some of them. But we also want to continue to add new legendary aspects as well, and more ways for you to kind of like create that build and kind of earn it more, before you hit like World Tier.
Expected.
Yeah, and in general, season 2 is representative. Like, we think that there should be more in a season, and season 2 is representative of that direction.
Question
Is it
from
better than
Alexi.
season 1?
Good name, not biased at all.
Yeah, but far season 1 was
that
almost
season
nothing.
1 was yeah. It's
you-
good.
you
I
put the
mean,
bar really low, man.
it's obvious. I mean, the whole thing.
Boss. She is very, very
Like,
difficult.
I'm muting this Q&A unless they pop up a banner at the bottom. The thing here is, they haven't said anything. They said a couple things that were stupid, but they haven't said anything bad. It's just that it's painfully obvious that it's going to take a long time still for the game to get to somewhere where it feels
but we
like
knew already that.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise for us.
Yeah.
It's like we knew that season
Yeah.
1 and season 2 was done before the game launch.
No, season 2 wasn't done for the game launch. That's bullshit. They've already said that. Season 2.
Well, yeah, true. It's the content from the season specific. It's like the vampire thing, and the idea they're gonna do for the vampire thing was done before.
Like season.
Yeah, but you could mold a lot of shit.
Season 2.
Yeah.
It's just season 2's content is still like it's better than season 1, but again, like you just said, that's not very
I
hard.
See it, so I don't have opinion about.
It's not very much better than season 2 or better than season 1. The problem is like they didn't make any changes that were actively negative. And that's a good step. So far, none of the changes have been actively negative. All of the ideas, they didn't give us actually any like really numbers yet or anything. This is basically just an overview stream without any actual details, but like all the ideas are fine. They're just like these ideas. It's basically multiple pages of hotfixes that they could have done during the course of last season and the post first season. But they're getting around to them now and releasing them with the season, which is fine. But there's still not enough of them. They're still coming too slowly. And my biggest issue with the season itself is the content of season 2 is these 5 bosses.
And if you like farming bosses,
which is fine, but there's still
like cool
not.
season.
They still haven't added any content for somebody who doesn't want to farm bosses.
Yes.
Which is the majority of people.
Where you have that?
I played ARPGs. The majority of people don't want to farm a boss. I promise.
His source, Sato, is dude, just trust me.
Okay.
Source?
He has a secondary source of I made it the fuck up.
They incentivize you to do the other 4 in-game pillars, and you're going to farm
Source
seasonal team
induction.
if you want the power. Seems like there are many more things to do, but those activities still aren't fun. Nightmare dungeons still are fundamentally flawed.
Argument. Fun is not an argument, man.
Yes, it is.
No, it's I don't get fun on this, so it's bad.
Yeah.
It's not objectively bad. It's bad for you only.
Yeah, and I feel like I share the opinion of a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's still not objective. Because it's your thought about it.
If what you think is
you're
subject,
not
if you're
representing
if you're
anyone,
if you're
you're representing yourself.
if the subjective opinion,
I mean, that's what we're doing here, is representing ourselves.
Yeah, but you cannot talk about
if the subjective,
objectively.
I can when I share it, and that's been proven. So like, that's all there is to it. That's the end of it. It does matter, and it is true. Like that. Like,
oh, that ice thing boss is really cool.
And it's just Duriel.
No, the one before.
That's just the Nightmare Dungeon boss we already have, but colored blue. They're just reskins.
His attacks might be cool,
but they are reskins, and they admitted to that on an interview. So,
I think the ice thing is not a reskin. It's really similar to the Scourge, but it's not risking.
I guess there's no from the D4 bad for you. What did you want them to say? I wanted them to add an in-game system that actually seemed like you could farm it, because their current in-game systems are D4 bad. That is what their current in-game systems are. The majority of people agree on that. Their in-game systems are currently bad, and they're still not making a new one. Bosses were already
making a new one.
No,
just bosses.
No, bosses were already in-game system. Lilith was already their in-game system. It was at the bottom of the chart. They're just adding 5 more bosses to go along with Lilith.
But
There is no
They
new
are
in-game
new
system.
in that you can target farm uniques from them. That is a new thing.
Like the incentive to farm them is the uniques, but that doesn't make them a new system because they already planned for you to just farm Lilith at the end, according to their chart and what they've said as the developers. That was already their plan, was that Lilith was the end game.
Are they changing the reward for killing Lilith again?
No, Lilith doesn't even have the chance to drop the
didn't.
uniques. She's just there, which is also a problem. But like they didn't
It's
actually.
like you kill it once and then you don't farm Lilith. It's just like a objective.
Yeah, that's
It's
the
like,
problem.
Yeah.
Is that Lilith was the end, and there wasn't a reason to farm.
Yeah, so now
Lilith.
they've added a reason
So now
to.
they've put in a reason to farm the new bosses that they've put in.
But people were arguing
The
like
problem is
that is good. That's good.
it's
That's
not
good.
it's not bad, but that's not a new end game system.
It
It
is.
is a new in-game system for bosses.
Yeah.
But bosses were already an in game system. It's just adding another
So-
layer to the boss.
No,
It's adding a
well, no.
reward to the boss.
Yeah,
Which is
because
not a
the
new si-
only
which is-
end guess boss there is right now is Uber Lilith, and you can kill her once to get reward because it's gonna give you uniques and legendaries, whatever. And then if you kill her again, drops nothing. So it's not an end game system to farm. Now they're adding 5 bosses end game system to farm, and it's an end game for the people that like to do bosses and like to do like a health ties, open world things, just to progress into something else more rewarding that's gonna be these bosses. We don't know yet if they're gonna actually be rewarding because we don't know what is their drop ratio or is they're actually worth. But it's the idea of progressing into bosses.
But that's still like. But that's also still that was already there. You could also just already like bosses were already bosses were their in-game pillar. You could still farm Lilith. Now they're actually giving you, but you get there. Let me finish.
You can't
there are
farm Lilith. If you kill her once, it's done. You
okay,
kill,
that's
you can
that
spend
that
10
is,
hours
okay. Let me explain.
killing her
Let me
and
explain.
get nothing.
Let me explain. That is what the new in-game bosses are to me and a player that already didn't want to do a boss more than once. They are still the same thing. You kill them once because it's interesting to do something one time, but they're not an in-game system that I'm ever going to farm. They like bosses are not an in-game I'm looking for. And that is all that they have done to the game is add bosses. They already had a boss. I didn't want to farm it anyway. It wasn't rewarding before, and adding reward behind it still doesn't make me want to do it. I don't want to boss. And they still haven't changed any of the current other in-game systems to be suitable to want to farm. So why would...
That's not true. They changed whispers, and they changed which you still... Well, okay. If you complete your sentence, then yes, they haven't changed them to where you're going to want to do them. But they did change whispers.
Improve. They improved the...
Yeah, they improved them, but they I don't need an improvement. I needed a new one or an overhaul. And I got neither. I am getting neither. And that... And
that probably Copium is gonna come with the leaderboard season 3.
Okay, I'm not talking about season 3.
Yeah,
I started off this whole being mad saying that I already understood that the season 2 wasn't going to be good. What I'm saying is that they didn't do it. Like, I mean, I already knew it was going to happen. I already knew there wasn't actually going to be an end game to play in season 2, but I'm still upset about it because there's still no end game to play in season 2.
Season 3, Copium.
So like now we're just actually Copium for a season that will add an actual in-game system that's not a boss. I already knew the in-game system for this season was a boss. But to me, they already had that with Lilith. It doesn't matter what rewards it gives, I don't want to fucking farm a boss. Because I could have already been doing that with Lilith. Because farming Lilith and killing her, if you wanted to do a bossing content, you still got loot from Lilith. So like, if you wanted a boss...
Once.
You get loot every time you kill her.
No.
She drops items.
No. Right now, it doesn't.
Then the people on hardcore always kill her the first time on a character.
Yeah, once.
She drops items once per character?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I've never seen somebody kill her twice on the same character. They always kill her on a different build. Okay, well that's dumb, but like I guess the intent is to still
I told you because I did a lot of carry Lilith. A lot of carry Lilith. I killed her over 100 times on my Necro.
Okay, well that's a fundamental flaw. They should have also had her. Why does she not just drop an item?
Oh yeah, it drops like a 2 legendaries. They could be sacred, ancestral, random.
Okay, but that's still
random,
that's still not an excuse though for the content to now be the boss. Oh, our boss drops loot now. We've done amazing. It still doesn't.
It's a content. If I make a boss killer build, I want to farm bosses because I have a good single target build, like for example, Poison Rogue, or I don't know, the Double Swing Barb, or whatever, Bon Necro. I want to do bosses because my build is good for doing bosses. And Uber Lilith is really hard mechanic because she have a lot of one-shot mechanics, some random stuff. So I want some content that is not stressful, that I can actually enjoy doing it because I'm not that good in the game. And now I have chances to use my single target build to do bosses. So it's variety content, and that is good. It's not gonna change the way the PVM killing monsters stuff happens because we have the same mechanics. And that's it is. It's the way it is.
I mean, yeah. Well,
as one goes.
My season the adding the bosses is fine. The fact that they are the only content that comes the content for season 2 is what's the problem to me.
My problem with the bosses for this is that the rewards for them are uniques, and uniques are not tradable, which means that if they do ever roll them into the main game, like if this does go forward, which I think they said that they will be permanent things, that you're going to be forced into farming bosses if you want the unique rewards from them. And I don't like that. I think that they're on the right. So I'm going to give my takeaway from this. I think they're on the right track in that they seem to want to give a reason to do various activities and they've shown this by putting the unique bosses behind these various activities.
I also agree with Persnickety here, by the way.
Whiskers or Hell Tides or Nightmare Dungeons. They each feed into their own little end-game boss, which will have its own unique pool. That's good. That's really like a basis of a system is good-ish. I'd say
it's like a farm X-Arch blue boss and
yeah. The only problem is that I don't know that Whispers are engaging content to be one of your activities that you really want to invest into, but they could make them more interesting. I guess. Nightmare Dungeons are fine. Ideally, they would be. They're looking at the mod pool more and more and making the layouts better. So hopefully they continue to do that, and that becomes like a good pillar. And then the Hell Tides are somewhat successful as an in-game pillar, but I don't know if they really hold up to the weight of like an entire system being placed upon them. Mostly because they don't scale in difficulty very. Like the reason why I don't think that Whispers and Hell Tides stand up to the weight of being end-game pillars is that they don't scale very well, and so a large part of what you're looking to do in ARPGs and Diablo is improve your character, and there isn't really much of a reason to do so for those activities. But they have the bosses, which is a reason to improve your character, and that is really what you're looking to do, is improve your character.
But if you don't want to kill the boss...
And that leads me on to my next point, which is that they put the bosses behind there, which is fine, but I don't think that they should make it to where, in order to get the reward from the bossing content, you have to go engage with the bossing content repeatedly. I think it's a lot better in PoE where the bosses drop things that you can then trade.
Also,
and like that, if you wanted to be a bosser in Path of Exile, you could do that and then like farm Maven a bunch, get stuff from her, and trade it to other people.
Also,
I think that should have been the thing they went with.
Also, it's like in PoE for the basis of it, it's like invitation farming. If you're an invitation farmer, you're farming the invitation so the guy can go open it. You trade the guy the invitation, but but the activity of invitation farming is more fun. This is not this is subjective, but it is proven by the state of Diablo 4 that Helltides and shit are not it. They do not hold up.
There's a lot of people that like Helltides, but I don't see a lot of people liking Trio Whisper, for example.
Yeah,
Helltides is an exception.
But if they have this philosophy though of having these different pillars that feed into these different areas that have these unique rewards, hopefully there's like two things that they're missing. One is beefing up the bottom, the foundation, because I feel like Nightmare Dungeons are almost beefy enough. They might be a little bland if we're going with our cooking analogy. But our Whisperers and the Helltides, I don't know that they're beefy enough. But they could, I mean, in future seasons, get beefed up to hopefully become good pillars. And then at the very top of it with the bosses, I would want there to be tradable stuff from them as well. And then additionally, I think that they're missing out on progression systems that are not present in Path of Exile, that are longer term progression systems that take longer than a week to complete. Like notably, Path of Exile doesn't even have that system. Notably, so like Path of Exile doesn't even have that, right? Because like we play Path of Exile for 2 weeks and then are done with it. Like at most. And some things like what I'm talking about would be your glyphs going to level 100, your codex being improved. Like I've mentioned this so many times, but I'm going to mention it again because I still think it's a good idea. A currency that drops from a boss that you can then take to your codex, and it will improve the aspect that's in your codex, such that like every codex thing has 3 ranks: a shit tier that you get from the dungeon, and then a medium tier that you upgrade with one of your tokens, and then another tier that you upgrade with one of your tokens. And that way, like there's this progression of you can upgrade your codex, like just bars to fill that are things to improve your character that take a long time, that aren't level 100, because level 100 should not take a long time. I think so. Those are the 3 flaws that I still see, but I do think that they took a good step in a correct direction. I just don't think it was a very big step, and so my conclusion is still D4 bad.
My conclusion is still D4 bad as well. Also, my concern, and we were talking about this literally right as they said it, is I think it is a good change that they are making leveling take about, they said leveling was going to be about 40% faster to get to level 100, which I think is fine.
That's good.
I think people should be able, I don't think 100 should be hard to achieve. The problem is that it's a twofold. My statement is twofold. 100 should not be hard to achieve, and there should be a plethora of content once you are 100. The game should start at 100. The end game. And they still don't have those pillars for me at the end game for 100. Like, they're still just not there. Like, Helltides and Whispers still aren't going to hold up as something that you want to repeatedly farm, even putting a boss behind them. And Nightmare Dungeons, you're okay with farming until your glyphs are maxed out. But then after your glyphs are maxed out, it becomes pretty tedious to why am I going to enter one? To then, at that point, you're like, okay, now I'll compare, because if you want to do the bosses, because like that's going to be the only thing left to do at that point is farm the bosses for your uniques, because you want, obviously as an RPG player, you still want better gear. And sometimes you'll do stuff that's not super fun to get to it, just because you're like, well, fuck, I want to play, and I want to get better gear. So you'll keep doing these systems to farm for the boss, but then it's like, how long can you maintain that begrudging cycle of trying to hop between these systems that aren't fully flushed out? And they're still not fully flushed out. Like, that, they have not shown us anything from this stream to where those systems are now flushed out. I think we can all agree with that. So, like,
question. They show what the new mechanics does, like
yeah,
what's gonna be the vampire thing?
yeah. You see this on my stream right now. It's this blue. It's Helltide Plus.
It's
a zone,
Helltide, but there's
it's a
always
zone.
going to be one active.
It's a Helltide, but it's always active, and you farm it to get
But
currencies.
it's not gonna be like a corrupted heart, something like that.
Yeah, no. So the equivalent of the Malignut
now go on your
is
armor.
that there is a tab that has your armor. Ancestral can have up to 5 of the sigils, and it seems pretty trivial to like wipe away your current sigils and get new sigils. There are 3 types of sigils.
Yeah.
There's like blood, bone, and chalice.
Yeah.
And then based off of the sigils that you put in, so like your helm might have 5 bone sigils. Your chest might have 5 bone sigils. Your boots
but what
have,
that does?
Well, I'm getting there. 5 bone sigils. And then there are these other glyphs that you slot in. Egg can click on that image.
Mm-hmm.
And then the glyphs will have a requirement. So you need to have, so for the one that's highlighted, Metamorphosis, you need to have 2 blood, 2 chalice, and 2 bone.
This is so
across
cool,
your
man.
gear. And then you slot it in, you get 5 of them. They have effects that are going to be class agnostic and might be kind of cool. And you can level them up. I don't think it's going to take that long to level them up.
Especially because they say they only go to level 3.
These sigils are like a glyph?
Yes. You have to find them, I'm pretty sure. But I don't think it's going to take very
10
long.
times better than Malignant.
Yeah.
It's better than Malignant.
It's the same type of idea, though. Just with...
but don't...
It's better. It's better in every way.
It's way better.
It's better in every way, and that like there is some progression to them. They seem more interesting. But
they've got a UI that actually makes that an actual UI.
There's some progression to them. But the emphasis there is that there's only some progression. I don't know that the progression is going to just... I don't know. I don't think that it fills the role of taking longer. It's good. It's a good system, but it's very much in the style of borrowed power that we're going to take away at the end of the season. It's very much in... It feels like something that might be really powerful and might make your character very cool to play. Maybe. That's yet to be seen. But doesn't have a lot of progression tied to it, and doesn't have like a deep progression tied to it, and doesn't have a permanence to it. To where to me that takes away a lot of the appeal. But I mean that's what they've envisioned seasons to be. So I still kind of want that to change as well. But it definitely seems better than Malignuts. Okay. It seems a lot better than Malignuts.
I mean, like Sato said earlier, they set the bar pretty low, so like that's not very hard. I'm not saying anything they're doing here is not an improvement. I'm saying that the improvements are not big enough or coming fast enough. This season theme seems better. I'm continuing to read through these, and these actually seem like they're not going to be total poop, like a couple of the Malignuts were. So that's fine. It's just... the end game pillars still don't hold up. Because that is going to take...
so I don't care
that's going to
that.
take them longer.
I think this is a really good season for Sato, who likes bossing.
It's not... I don't really like bossings. It's not like my most likely content. I like more Nightmare Dungeons than bossings in terms... If Nightmare Dungeons were like really good, I think they're okay, but not really good.
Yeah, but you fought Exarch more than one time in a season, unlike Eggman, who has only ever fought Exarch one single
yeah, of course.
in any season.
What? That's just not
every
true.
time there is a new boss, I try to kill the boss until I figure out all the mechanics, and I like to do that. This is like a content for me.
How many times did you kill Exarch last season, Egg?
In this current one, once.
Once.
Yeah. But in past times, I've killed them more than that. And guess what I found out? They're not
you
fun.
Don't like bossing.
Yeah. So
that was my point.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
you're not changing anything. You're not changing anything.
But but that's the problem with this for me. Is that they are packing the actual reward. Like, so in PoE, you can just ignore the reward behind that content and be like, okay, I don't want to do it because you can just buy it.
You have trade.
Yeah, in this season, if I don't want to do the boss,
forcing you to do it if you want to get the reward.
Yeah, that is unacceptable. And to pile it on top of that, the current state of Nightmare Dungeons and stuff is not that great. So it's like,
yeah, they didn't change it, to be honest. Well, they changed something really important. Is one thing that you said before, like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
like you should be getting ancestrals if you're doing Nightmare Dungeons, not sacred.
They also changed. They
also did the thing where I said that objectives are dumb and people don't want them. They took them out.
You just go find the boss.
Just go find the boss.
What?
Yep.
Is that true?
That was
yes.
But there is dungeons that don't have bosses.
And they said for those the objectives for those will be along the main path / they'll have new layouts.
Oh.
Because turns out dungeon objectives were dumb.